The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Yep. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Tuesday evening on what I'm calling our juggling episode, boys. That's what we got going on over the next, hour. We got a college football ranking show that's set to release in between 2 college basketball games. God only knows how long that's going to take to close out. We are up in the air playing a live juggling act tonight, but we have a great show planned for you guys tonight. No need for an opening because we didn't feel like spacing it out. So we're going straight into our topics today, and we've got a loaded one for you. We got Week 11 predictions, actually Week 12. It's Week 12 in college football. We got Week 12 predictions coming for you guys. Nebraska made some headlines. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I did an LSU and Alabama film study. I've got notes for that and a take that kind of blossomed upon us coming out of that film study based on that LSU roster they've got going on right now. Trash throwing making the news again today on the show sheet. And we got Crazy But True being played tonight as well. But I want to start by giving you guys, I'm not going to call it free money, but it's basically free money right about now. At least statistically, we're hitting about 70% of these, or about 66.6 repeating percent of these on the year, and that's best bets. If you haven't gone over to Best or Bet US this season, you need to go ahead and do so. Head over to Bet US. You use promo code YouTube150. You'll get 150% deposit match up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% deposit match on your next 2 deposits. Boys, I got 3 locks for you this week, okay? Before we even get into the Twitter locks. And I just want to let you know, I'm 2-1 on best bets since I took it over from my man 500 over there. And on the year on locks, I'm 12-6 over on Twitter. So here we are. I'm giving it to you. We're not even going to go to the board. I'm giving it to you straight off the note sheet today. Texas, minus 13.5 on the road at Arkansas. I think Texas is back to themselves from a run game perspective, okay? I expect them to do the same. Not maybe as bad as they beat Florida at home last week, but I expect them to handle business knowing what's on the line this week out there in Little Rock. I like Colorado minus 10 against Utah. I do not trust Utah's offense, even with my man Brandon Rose, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that tonight on our prediction slate. And my last one, Oregon's been handling business. Been handling a lot of business. I do not trust Wisconsin's offense. Give me Oregon minus 14.5 this week as well. Those are my 3 locks. BetUS, promo code YouTube 150 over there right now. Boys, where do you want to start?
I think we just go ahead and get knocked out of these predictions.
Yeah.
I mean we're going to start early anyway, so might as well go ahead.
I was thinking news and then predictions.
All right, well then.
Maybe tease the audience a little bit and then get to the action.
You had a preconceived notion of what you wanted to do. Just take
He
the
always
rock
does.
and go.
He always does.
Because you make us look foolish.
You know what? You know what it is? It's me doing. It's me throwing it out there and hoping that maybe somebody is in lockstep with me. It's more of a test, really. I know what I want to do, and I want to see if you guys are on the same
You
page.
just say what you want.
Really, it's the equivalent of giving your little cousin the video game controller that has no batteries in it. You think you're good. You think you're leading the way, but you're really not. You're just participating, fake participating.
I think it's more like giving your cousin the remote that you know is defective.
Yeah.
Yeah, more like that.
Is that not what Jay Will just said?
But did you? No, he said the one without the batteries.
Yeah.
That one
That's
doesn't work at
pretty
all.
defective.
No, that one doesn't work at all. I'm talking about
you
the
think
one
it
that's
does.
like that triangle button you have to hit twice or hit a certain way.
There's a
That's
cheat
all I'm
code
asking.
to it.
I'm asking for you to hit the button a certain way.
Okay.
And the button is Nebraska hired a guy 6 days ago, and he's now calling plays for them. Did you hear about this?
I did hear about this.
I'm going to assume the audience has not. So here we go. Dana Holgorsen, most recently the head football coach at Houston, most recently the fired head football coach at Houston, was hired 6 days ago by Nebraska to be an offensive analyst. Today, or yesterday I should say, it was announced he's going to call plays for them. So here's my question to you, boys. Did Dana Holgorsen say something or do something over the last 6 days that was so mind-boggling to Matt Rule, who, by the way, has no prior notion or prior agreement or prior crossings with my man Dana? Or was Marcus Satterfield just that bad that Dana Holgorsen came in there, said something over the last 6 days, and Matt Rule's like, hey, you're my guy?
Maybe a little bit of both, because it has been bad in Nebraska. They're like 109th, I want to say, in points per game this year. They're averaging like 23.6, and they're really bad in total offense. I think that's like 96 in the country. But maybe it was something as simple as he has this meeting with Dana, and he's like, hey, you're struggling with this. This is all you got to do. And he's like, well, my OC has not mentioned this a single time. Maybe you need to be the guy in the booth. Maybe you need to be our guy.
Yeah, it strikes me as a classic interim offensive coordinator role where, hey, these last 3 games are going to be what they're going to be. Let's see if we can find a spark offensively. Let's see if we can find someone that runs a system that we like moving forward next year. Kind of you're getting a head start on the coaching search, it feels like to me. I mean, Nebraska isn't competing for anything. There's 3 games left in their regular season. I think maybe 2. So
3.
There's really no harm done with that.
They got USC this weekend at USC, Wisconsin at Iowa. So 3 games left. They're still fighting for bowl eligibility, by the way, boys. They're 5-4 right now. Got to go 1-2 over the next 3 to get to bowl eligible. I think you are right in the sense that this is more shaping up for year 3 under Matt Rule, and obviously an offensive coordinator change. Will this be his 3rd coordinator in 3 years? They just hired Satterfield recently, right?
Yeah.
Or no, they hired Satterfield 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And year 1 under Satterfield, I feel like should have been thrown away considering the quarterback play. And year 2 hasn't been great under Satterfield. A weird kind of arc for this young football coach in Marcus Satterfield. He was a guy that was in the league coaching offensive line at Carolina with Matt Rule, and then goes to South Carolina. Year 1 at South Carolina was not very good. They were ready to get rid of him. Year 2, as you mentioned in pre-show planning, showed some progression, and then Nebraska hired him away. Matt Rule took him out there, and now he's presumably fired. Like you don't get demoted like this publicly and end up on that staff next year.
Wouldn't think he sticks around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's demoted. To say the least, he's not going to be offensive coordinator next year.
Do you think it's a wise decision to just up and randomly have a guy calling plays that just showed up a week ago? Optically, I'm going to let you know, not great. Not great.
Yeah, I think
we cooked a certain program in the Big 12 last year for doing exactly this. We flamed Colorado for firing former Kent State head coach that was their OC.
I think it's bad because not only did you just kind of meet this guy not too long ago, now your players have to adjust to this new face. And I'm sure that they probably didn't have too much of a warning that this was about to happen. I wouldn't think, unless it was maybe as early as last week. But outside of that, I mean, this is fairly new to all of them. Now, is it good timing in the sense that you aren't really playing for anything, so maybe you can experiment a little bit? Yes, but you also you also needed to be sure that you were already going to move on from Satterfield anyways. So maybe this is just a test, and like maybe we get a head start on this. Maybe we can go ahead and implement a new system.
Yeah, I mean, optically, it doesn't look great, but I mean, there's optics stuff all the time that you have to go like, oh, that doesn't look good. I mean, the reality is they're getting a head start in the offensive coaching search, and by the way, they're getting a 3-week trial run with someone that they very well could make their new OC. So it doesn't look great, no, but it could end up paying in dividends. What happens if Nebraska has a great offense next year, similar to what Colorado's done this year?
Yeah.
I mean, the turnaround we've seen from them has been great.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just wanted to recall the fact that we did point to the like, hey, man, this is kind of like odd that you're doing this midseason last year when Colorado did something similar. But as you mentioned, it paid dividends for the Buffaloes, and it might pay dividends for the Cornhuskers as well. Let's move on, guys. I had a film study that came out today on LSU and Alabama. Obviously, when big football games like that happen on this channel, we like to break down the why. A lot of fans watch football and they see the scores and they're like, how did this happen? What was going on? So we broke it down, and I've got notes for you. I got to be honest, when Kalen DeBoer took the job at Alabama, I kind of expected him to come over and play a lot of West Coast football. You know, do a lot of outside zone stuff, do a lot of folding, use athleticism at the offensive line position to creatively scheme up runs, right? To creatively scheme up alleyways in the run game. That's not what I see when I turn on tape for Alabama. And sure, there are still concepts that he's running from Washington. There are still some passing game concepts, some pre-snap motion, some stacking of formations that are very, very akin and very, very similar to what he's always done. But, man, when this football team is healthy, they aren't an offense that's based on complexity right now. That is not what they are about. They are about an offense, when healthy, that is about putting hats on hats and moving people against their will. They are putting face mask to face mask every single time. And when you feel vulnerable and you feel like you've got to dedicate additional bodies to the box, that's the moment that they're going to go over the top of you. When they are at their peak, when they are fully healthy as they are, or have been, I should say, the last 2 football games, that is their game plan. Their game plan is to run at your face and consistently run at your face. And right now, I think they have 3 offensive linemen that play center to left tackle. And I don't think the right guard and right tackle are any scrubs by any stretch of the mean, but center to left tackle, you'd be hard-pressed to find a unit right now that's playing better in the run game. Let's go through it. Parker Brailsford, I tweeted today, he is Jason Kelsey. I know everyone's looking for that new comp for that football player since he's retired as of late and obviously become a very famous individual. But when you talk about a center that wins with technique, athleticism, and cerebrals, this is what Parker Brailsford is. He is 6'2", 290 pounds. And I have a note right here. I think this is the best way to explain him. Athletic and cerebral and athletic with a real fight to finish. That is what popped on that tape to me most, Jonathan, when we watched it today. The echo of the whistle is something that offensive line coaches talk about. This guy lives it. Love watching him play. The amount of athleticism that he has really created a new level of ingenuity and creativity to that offensive run game. And then you pair up Tyler Booker and Caden Proctor right now, and I don't know if there's a better tag combination in college football. What I call a tackle and guard combination. The ability to move a 3-tech is like really important in SEC football. If you're going to run the ball successfully and consistently, you better be able to move people against their will. When these two are paired up together, I don't know of very many defensive tackles that are holding the will of those two guys right now at this point in time. They're fully healthy. And by the way, it's very clear to me that this offensive line has trimmed up a lot. They have lost a tremendous amount of weight since when I was watching them, even last year, like in the SEC championship game. And there's a reason for that. They're being asked to do a lot more athletic-based movements in this new system. So seeing that is what I was kind of hoping to see from this system is like, hey, you've got these big maulers. Can you find this happy medium and can you find this blend? These guys are playing extremely well right now. And I would be remiss talking about this offense if I didn't point out how selfless Jam Miller plays in the blocking department as an additive in the run game. Most of these explosive runs you're seeing right now from Milroe are coming off of what we're calling on this channel quarterback duo. They're basically using Jam Miller as a lead blocker, and he's been selfless in that department, as have their receivers, man. Their receivers get after it out there on the edge as well. And my God, they're H-backs. They're 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, really. It's 45, 80, and 81. They use these guys like modern-day fullbacks, and they are physical. They are really physical football players. You saw it, Jonathan. They broke the will of that LSU defense, particularly from the second and third level of defense.
I mean, we saw what it did later in the game, too. There were some business decisions being made by that LSU defense. They didn't want any part of it after that. I mean, especially once you already got the beating put down and it's primed and it's happening right there in that moment. Definitely some, I don't want any more of this. Like, you guys got this.
And I always like to start these film notes most of the time with like the credit, right? And that was a lot of credit to Alabama's offense, and particularly their offensive line and their scheme and their physicality, right? But here's the criticism. LSU clearly has a void. That, guys, they don't have very many difference makers on the interior of their defensive line right now. And we just kind of went semi-viral in the Georgia space for kind of pointing out the inefficiencies in the offensive line recruiting in 2023 and 2022. And that is rearing its head right now for Georgia. They're banged up on the offensive line, and they can't quite find the bodies that are able to win snaps, particularly on the road in certain situations, right? Well, LSU's having the same problem right now at interior defensive line. They took off, basically. They took off the 2023 and 2024 classes in terms of interior defensive body types. I'm talking about guys that are north of 6'2" and north of 280 pounds, dudes that can come into this conference and hold up against double teams. They basically brought in one body over 2 classes, and that was Sean Washington, a junior college transfer that Georgia fans would know. He played in Athens, didn't get a lot of playing time. Hit the transfer portal, played in JUCO, went to LSU. He is from the state of Louisiana. But you can't go 2 classes and sign one body. But here's the good news for an LSU fan listening. They've got a 5-star coming in 2025, and they've added 3 more additional bodies in that 2025 class. That looks to me like a football staff that recognized their areas and holes of deficiencies and went out and made some changes in 2025. The bad news is, them jokers ain't on that roster right now.
No, they are not.
Yeah, and especially with those are the moments that it's going to show up the most. Like, LSU has played well against other matchups, like especially like against South Carolina. They went head to head with them, and they ended up coming out of that game with a win. But when you have to go up against a team like Alabama, and again, a team that has their playoff hopes on the line, just like you did this past weekend as well. I mean, that's when it's going to show up most, is in those crucial moments in primetime football games. And Alabama came in there with a will and with a notion that they were going to absolutely win the line of scrimmage offensively. And LSU, I mean, your inefficiencies were glaringly obvious.
Yeah, it was very clear from the word go that Alabama kind of had the attitude of, we're going to come in and punch you in the mouth, and LSU was not expecting that at all. I don't know what type of game LSU was expecting from Alabama, but whatever it was, they weren't ready for it, and that very much showed throughout the game. And I mean, they held their own for a while. It felt like it was a relatively close game, all things considered, through about the first 2 quarters. But when teams lean on you like that and they just consistently punch you in the face, you're really not going to have success, and it showed throughout the end of the game. Yeah,
displacement was a major theme in that film study today, as were just the highlights of the Parker Brailsford clips. I'm going to tweet some of those out tomorrow. I mean, a phenomenal football player. Excited. I mean, he's got a whole nother year in the SEC. You could see it on tape at Washington, but you could also tell just how small he was last year. I mean, he might have been listed at 285, but I think he was playing at like maybe 280 soaking wet. I mean, he was really thin last year. And he's maintained his athleticism and quick twitch in his feet, even though he's added, I mean, it looks like 10, 15 pounds since he's moved over to the SEC. Super fun study and watch right there. You seen these quotes from the Louisiana governor?
I've seen one quote.
Not a good look.
Yeah, these are nuts. Obviously, Governor Landry is the individual that ordered the what are we calling that? The fake tiger? I mean, he's a real tiger, but he ain't Mike the Tiger. He was a rent-a tiger. That's what we're calling that. We're gonna call that a rent-a tiger.
I mean, I was a real tiger to me, but yeah.
All right, so yeah, real tiger that was rented that Governor Landry basically demanded that be at this football game due to nostalgic purposes. Loved Mike the Tiger, felt like traditions needed to be brought back. After the football game, he was asked about Mike the Tiger, and this was his quote, "Our tiger, our live tiger, unfortunately, disappointingly, was the only tiger who showed up Saturday. I'm sorry."
Oh.
He continued, "I had more people come up to me, and they remembered Mike the Tiger more than some of the great plays."
Damn, you got the
Very unhappy governor right
there. You got
there.
the government sending shots at you right now. That's tough.
I love the "I'm sorry" at the end of it. It's like, hey, I'm sorry I said it. I'm sorry I had to be the guy to say it. By the way, your Mike the Tiger wasn't necessarily alive. Some bitch was so sedated he couldn't stand up half the time.
Yeah, I think that we found
Told
out
you, dude. That
why.
tiger was going to be high as a kite.
The pictures are cold, though. Have you seen the photos of Mike the Tiger at the stadium? The few times he stood up and they turned the lights off on Mike the Tiger. Looks kind of cool. Then again, I think, oh, man, this is probably not where Mans wants to be right now.
Probably not.
Makes me feel a little bit weird in my tummy and my innards.
Ooh. You going PETA on us?
I ain't going Pete. I'm just saying, like, hey, man, I wouldn't like to be trapped in no cage. They need to give my man a bed.
Yeah.
Like a hard floor. I got hip problems.
It is one thing when it's like, live mascots like Ugga. He's got his doghouse with AC.
I mean,
and
they
all
got
the good
ice from my
stuff.
man Ugga's nuts.
They treat them real nice. And then Bevo, he
They
at least
do.
has a space to like kind of roam around. Whereas when you have to put this live animal in a box, just a box with nothing in it, it feels a little different.
A glass box.
Yeah.
Trapped in a glass box of emotions
Yeah.
was my man.
They should have driven around his cage like the Sooner Schooner after LSU scored a touchdown. That would have been pretty sick. Maybe LSU would have scored more points.
I did see reports going into the game. You were making jokes about the Tiger getting out.
They weren't jokes.
I did see tweets and reports going into the game that man Rent-A-Tiger that sells Rent-A-Tigers has actually had 2 tigers get loose on him.
I told you, dude. Those were not jokes. Those were dead serious predictions, and clearly the entire game did not go as we planned at all. So
Trash. Speaking of trash, I just wanted to transition. You put this in the show notes yesterday, and I was remiss to not mention it. There was a BYU cheerleading coach that got knocked out cold by a water bottle on
shout out
Saturday.
to the SEC officials, man. Just getting cheerleading coaches knocked out at games now because you want to overturn a call because you got afraid.
Crazy.
Idiot.
Yeah. I mean, if only it had worked.
What's going to stop this? Because clearly knowing that you may not be able to come back to a football game hasn't stopped this.
Nothing's going to stop the
Charges? We got all these 3D cameras in these buildings
that's the
nowadays.
only thing that's going to stop it. But then again, like, how are you?
That seems crazy.
Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like field rushings are way more common nowadays than they were 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they had fines back then. They have more fines now than they did back then. I think once stuff like this starts to happen and the precedent is set that, yeah, you're not supposed to do it. Yeah, it's against the rules. Yeah, you're going to get a slap on the wrist. But the reality is you're not really going to suffer consequences. It's going to keep happening. So good job, SEC officials.
It's classic. It's not my money, so why would I care?
It's not my money, not
the
my
university's being
Yeah.
fined. Like, they got plenty of money. It ain't my money, so why should I care? So I feel like that's just kind of the mindset is, and the same thing applies to people rushing the field. On top of everybody's looking for that viral moment. I mean, that also plays a role into that as well. But yeah, I think that it'd have to be some type of charges that you could place on somebody.
And even then, like we've seen players get in altercations with fans after games, after field storms. It still is not stopping. Like, the toothpaste is out of the tube with this, and you're not getting it back in. So
Might just have to put nets around the stadium.
I don't like that idea.
Oh, I don't either, but
I hate that. No, thanks.
just foul pole nets.
I think
the whole
the
thing.
only way is to start issuing like some type of fines or whatever to the individuals. Because you're right, the school getting fined, that doesn't do anything to anybody. Did you know? I think I remembered this when I saw the news today, but I think a lot of people found out this week, at least in the Georgia space, that those fines go to the school that got rushed.
Yeah.
And the popping of the clutch cost Ole Miss an additional $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid 200 racks for the second field storming and 150 racks for the premature popping of the clutch.
Yeah, I didn't know until
A
this
smooth
weekend.
$350K to Georgia.
Yeah, I didn't know this weekend until someone said, like, those fines will be paid to the University of Georgia. I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
My man Marion Campbell always going full on old school. He said just put an electric fence out there.
Everybody's got shot.
Yeah, everybody wears
on.
a dog collar when they go to the game.
That'd be pretty cool.
Guys, that'd work for Georgia. You'd have some Georgia drip, some dog drip.
You ever put a dog collar on?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when I was a young kid, when we first got the idea of like a vibration shot collar, I wanted to test it out like any dumb red-blooded American male. So yeah, I put one on, and then my brother did the it's not up that high, and then
Yeah. It's like a 10
They
unit
got me.
almost.
yeah, it's almost like a stem. Did you ever
Except
get
on-
ice and stem?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Except it's on your neck.
Yeah, except it's on your neck. But I'm good for a little stimulation.
All right.
Should we get into predictions?
I think that'd probably be
We
smart. at
finally
this point.
arrived.
Clemson at Pitt. How about this football game? Sneaky good.
It's about you need some sneaky good ones this week.
I got the
that's for
key
sure.
analysis
Oh, no,
point
no,
in this
no.
football game. I got the key analysis point in this football game. You ready?
What is it?
Pitt's top 10 against the run. That means this game is going to be put at the feet of Cade Klubnik.
Huh?
And not to mention, Peter Woods banged up, DeAndre Capehart banged up. Give me the Pittsburgh. What are they?
They're the Panthers.
Panthers. Give me them Panthers. Give me them Panthers 24-17. Why you shaking your head over there?
Dude, Pittsburgh is so
Yeah,
bad.
Pittsburgh.
I know they are. I know they
so
are.
bad.
Good on defense. That's all it takes. Good on defense. Clemson's banged up. Give me a good run game from Pittsburgh. I'm fine being against the grain here because I know we've been way too copacetic over the last several weeks of picks. We have been way too aligned, and that makes me feel goofy.
That's fair.
I agree with that.
I don't know. It just to me it seems like Clemson is the ship that everyone.
Damn,
wait-
I might bet on this and make it a lock. Both of you guys buffed at this. I think it's a good one. Then I'm going to lock that thing down.
Okay.
Might take them outright money line.
Go ahead, man. Clemson's always the ship to me that people are just constantly waiting on it to sink, and then something happens, and they're like, "Oh, this is it. It's a downfall from here." And I mean, the reality is Clemson's just a mediocre team now. They're better than a handful of teams, but they're not the best. They can get beat by teams that are better than them, but they usually beat the teams they're better than. I think Clemson's better than Pitt here. Pitt is not that good of a football team. I think their schedule, I think their record is very deceitful, and
You're not worried about Clemson's top two defensive tackles and I would say maybe like their fourth or fifth, Vic Burley's questionable as well. They're real banged up, guys.
They are banged up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the reality for Pittsburgh over the last couple weeks is you were one of those phony undefeated teams halfway through the year. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, and I said going into last weekend, I was like, Pittsburgh is going to get exposed yet again, and they did. They were down. They were down bad at one point in that football game. They ended up closing it out strong, and they made it a little bit closer. But I just don't think they are. I don't think they're on Clemson's level, even if there are some injuries. I think Clemson's going to handle it in a very boring style. I have them winning 31-10.
I'm riding the Narduzzi train. Give it to me. Utah at Colorado. How do you guys feel about this football game?
I'm a little more optimistic about Utah after
You're a
watching.
Brandon Rose guy, huh?
He was impressive.
Double
He was.
earrings get you?
No. I
The
didn't.
Jackson Dart cross on the cheek get you?
No.
The slime first down, is that what got you?
No, just the play on the field got me.
Damn.
I ain't interested in the drip.
I
all
thought
right?
it was the
'Cause
steez.
I ain't gonna lie. When I saw my man on the sidelines, I was a little skeptical of how this was gonna go. But he was impressive. I enjoyed watching him. I think that Utah has found a little bit. And I said, like, buddy, if you're Cam Rising and you come back, someone ought to punch you in the face
I
because
can't
this guy
believe-
needs to
Ooh.
be the quarterback.
I can't believe you're against the obvious. I listened to way too much Aaron Carter drip from Brandon Rose. I don't even think you get that reference because
No.
you're not old enough to know who Aaron Carter is. So that probably means Brent. Yeah, we got a head shake over here from Schofield. That's exactly what we got going on from my man Brandon Rose.
Yeah, so I'm a little more optimistic about them. I think that
R.I.P.
they're-
Aaron Carter.
There are some people. RP, that's right. There are some people in this chat. They're gonna get that tremendously.
Yeah. You haven't heard of Tyler beat Shaq?
no.
You haven't heard "I Want Candy"?
Oh, I've heard that.
Come on, man.
I don't think Aaron Carter wrote that song. I think he just covered it.
You're right, but "How I Beat Shaq" had some bars in it.
Oh yeah,
Did he go off the backboard in that?
pretty sure.
Damn,
been
crowd
a
went
while
crazy too.
Been a while since I've seen the music video for that.
They were definitely wearing FUBU in that music video.
Oh, 1,000%.
1,000%.
Early 2000s, late.
So,
90s.
anyways, you're on the Brandon Rose train.
I'm a little more optimistic about them. I think that they do have some offensive firepower in them now, and I think that they can move the ball. And I think they will move the ball, and I think they'll put up points against Colorado, but they're not going to be able to do it at the rate that Colorado is going to be able to. I think that Utah's defense is good. I think they're like they always are, just a typical good, solid Utah defense. But the way that Colorado has been playing as of late, the way that their offense has looked, and how they have stepped up a little bit on defense, I have Colorado winning this game 34-20.
I will say this. I liked what Brendan Rose put on tape last week, and we watched it together on the way home from from Ole Miss. And we watched it. But what was the number one thing I kept saying almost every time they touched the football, dropped him?
He about to throw a pick.
He about to throw a pick. Man had way too much confidence. All right. And that's great. And it's awesome that we're out here playing with that level of swag. And it's why I'm a proponent. I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I love watching it. But every time he dropped back, I told John, he going to throw a pick. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And eventually it popped up. He eventually threw an interception in that football game, and it ultimately swung the momentum towards BYU. This is the most opportunistic defense in the Big 12, in my opinion. When they start turning teams over, they do so in bunches. I'm expecting quite a bit of turnovers produced by this Colorado defense. Give me Colorado 34-20.
Maybe one of those insane Travis Hunter interceptions that he's good for every now and then.
They're just going to stay away from him entirely. They tried last week. The Texas Tech game plan was, hey, stay the piss away from 12. And then they stacked a bunch, and they thought they were going to get Travis Hunter on the top of the bunch, but Travis Hunter called an audible in the middle of it and backed up and played the back end of it and then floated up underneath the – They tried. They tried it, and it's gotten to a point now where Travis knows when you're trying to avoid him, so he puts himself in positions where he can actually make a play because he's really, really freaking smart.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're going to stay the hell away from him.
Yeah. The confidence I have in Colorado makes me less confident in them. That makes sense.
You don't want to believe?
I don't want to believe, but I mean, the star power, and especially in a game like this where we've seen Utah, now granted, they've had some success recently with some changes, but they've struggled to move the ball all season long. And for me to think that this is going to be the game where they magically get up and surprise a Colorado team that seems to be full steam ahead, has two of the biggest stars in college football right now, I don't buy it. I've got Colorado winning this game 35-14.
Somebody said Brandon Rose looks like Chip Skylark in real life. My shiny teeth
highly
in me.
accurate.
My shiny teeth in me.
Banger.
I
know that one.
You do know that one.
Mm-hmm.
The Fairly Odd Parents. That was a good show.
Yes, it was.
On to LSU at Florida. Guys, I put this one on the list because the line stunk.
They definitely think DJ Lago is playing
this
right.
screams DJ Lago is going to play in this game. And
for the folks at home, it's LSU minus 4.5 on the road at Florida. They're a touchdown better on paper than Florida, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think the propensity to consistently have struggles with a quarterback that shows even a semblance of being able to run has really scared bettors in this game. And I think that's probably what you're seeing right now.
You think Lagway's going to get totes? Even if he plays, you think he's getting major totes?
Even if he doesn't, they got two good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Baugh and Jackson are – I was impressed with
Plus,
them.
on top of that, what is LSU playing for now? You're bowl eligible. You're not
they could win the SEC.
Yeah. They only have two SEC losses.
There's a path that they're playing Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Yep.
Actually, it's the most common path.
Yeah. I think that matchup
out.
has the highest
odds
of happening.
So they're playing for an SEC championship, but I'm with you in the sense that they just took a huge adrenaline moral dump.
We just took a huge adrenaline moral dump, and by the way, it was our third loss of the season, and we still have a fairly difficult slate
But
to go.
you are the prophesizer on this network of Brian Kelly is the most unpredictable football coach.
He is.
So why can't you wrap your brain around? Oh, that was the 2022. I took a poop at home against Tennessee.
I mean, I absolutely could. I can.
You just don't want to.
It's not even that I don't want to. I think LSU wins this game, but I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense to me why this line is at where it is right now. People are going to be very down on LSU right now coming into this game.
I do worry about LSU's ability to hold up. Like, say what you want about Florida and say what you want about Billy Napier, but they are big. They are big and they are physical on both lines of scrimmage. And if there's anything this year that LSU has struggled with, it's big and physical.
Yeah.
If you're big and physical, you can move this football team around.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's alarming is that we've seen that Garrett Nussmeier at this point of the season is good for a turnover or two. That's just kind of what you have to expect coming into this game. And we saw what Florida did when they got a good plus in the turnover margin. They were in the fourth quarter battle with Georgia, a team that I think we would all say is probably a little more superior than LSU at this moment. or at least on par with him. So I think that's probably why people are saying, hey, this could very well be a game. And by the way, it's at the Swamp. So
if DJ Lagway plays, this is my stipulation. I think Florida wins if DJ Lagway plays. I have Florida winning 28-24 in this matchup. But I am interested to see what that environment is like in the Swamp, because there was some talk of people saying we're boycotting games now. Like season ticket holders were saying, I ain't showing up to games because you guys want to retain Billy Napier.
They ain't going to show up, but they going to sell their tickets.
Exactly.
yeah, people are going to be
Shut up. I don't believe
You
that.
ain't boycotting.
Shut up. You ain't boycotting your wallet. Ain't no way.
That's how it should be. You don't want to be there, give it to somebody that does.
You don't want to be there. You don't get to make a profit. Don't sell your ticket. That seat goes empty. That's how the boycott stands. Otherwise, you're a liar. You're like, oh, I'm boycotting. No, you're not. You're selling your ticket because you don't want to go.
Yeah, you're just
boycotting would be leaving the bitch empty.
Odds are those fans were probably already selling their tickets this year anyways.
Facts. I got LSU winning this game. I think it's the Nussmeier bounce back game. 27-20. Not like massive 450 yards. I'm talking about Nuss plays smart, controlled, game manager quarterback play. Give me a 27-20 win.
Yeah, I have it kind of similar to you do. This will be a turnover game and kind of just who can get the most momentum at the end. I think at the end, LSU is just going to kind of lean on Florida and out-talent them. I have them winning 28-16 here.
On to our next football game. Guys, in 1,000 different simulations, I don't think I can create a possible one where Missouri's offense scores more than 10 points this weekend against South Carolina.
Yeah.
1,000 simulations. Offense only. No defensive touchdowns like they had last week. I'm talking about this Missouri offense moves the football, scores. No.
Brooks, they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Are they?
Yeah, their playoff hopes survived after beating Oklahoma this past weekend.
I could see them getting.
So did their bowl-bound T-shirts.
Oh, those have already been stamped,
those are
baby.
good, dude. Once you get the
we
bowl-bound
repping
shirts,
those on
dude.
the sidewalks to class.
Hey, easy now. It might be some vacation of wins.
Vacations of wins?
Yeah, you never know. I'm not saying Drinkowitz is cheating. The results certainly don't prove that to be the case, but there's a possibility. I'm not ruling it out. You're not guaranteed bowl bound till you're in that bowl. But print the shirts. I'm just kidding. They're not cheating.
No.
Even though I don't like the cut blocking.
Yeah, but
Who you got?
They've always done it. I've got South Carolina in this game. I don't see how Missouri's offense is going to be able to keep up, even with a South Carolina team that is up and down, especially on the offensive side of the football. I just don't see an avenue where Missouri consistently gets down the field. I've got South Carolina winning 28-17 in this game.
Ooh.
I have a very similar score. I have South Carolina winning 30-17. The defensive line for South Carolina has been if that's the one consistent thing about this football team is that this defensive line is going to show up and this defensive line is going to create havoc every single weekend. Yeah, I think that's on. It's either not live or it's on the wrong channel.
Yeah, it's on ESPN, but I don't think you're live.
I don't have the remote with me. I don't know where it is.
What'd you do with the remote?
Slacker.
This guy over here. People are asking about the college football playoff rankings. I'm looking at this Michigan State-Kansas game. It looks like it's still obviously going. I think there's 32 seconds left on that game, though, so we could be going into rankings pretty soon here on this network. So, yeah, 29.7 seconds left in that Kansas-Michigan State game, and then we will be getting into live reactions from the rankings show that is coming up right now on ESPN or in a couple of minutes. Somebody's on the remote because it's moving over there. All right, looks like Kirby has found it. Anyways, I got I got South Carolina winning this football game 27-6. Y'all got the wrong score for a South Carolina win. South Carolina wins football games 27-3, 24-7. They don't win football games 37-17.
Not
normally.
I didn't say 37-17. I said 30-17.
I said 28-17.
Missouri's bad on offense right now.
I know. That's why I'm saying 27-6.
You also forget
they score.
You also forget the fact that South Carolina likes fumbling the football.
They do. They do really prefer putting the rock on the ground.
Yeah.
It's a rather unique skill that they got going on for them right about now. All right, let's move on to our last football game. Yeah, last one. Kansas at BYU. What do you got going on here, J-Will?
Man, I picked the Jayhawks last week.
Yeah, what the hell's going on with Kansas?
Oh, I don't know, but it was just the right
this
weekend.
Is the Kansas team we thought we were going to see.
They earned their third win of the season.
The Kansas fan that found us somehow, some way. Expose yourself right now and explain what the hell happened with you guys. Y'all lost 5 in a row, and then all of a sudden you go out there and you thump Houston, and then you give K-State everything they can handle, and then you thump Iowa State. What's going on with you guys? What was the change? What was the cataclysmic change that happened on this roster and in this coaching staff?
Oh, it was just the right weekend. It was just
3 of them in a row after 5 bad ones?
Yeah.
Whew.
It happens like
It's
that.
an interesting roulette wheel.
Yeah, but this is not the right weekend. It ends here, in my opinion. It's going to be another classic, I think, BYU football game of, hey, Kansas got them on the ropes. It's another close one, but I think BYU is going to end up winning this one by multiple scores in the final end of this game. I've got BYU winning 34-24. I just think that they're very much more consistent, despite how close their games have been. Maybe if they are playing a little bit down, or I shouldn't even say down to talent. I think that's just kind of who BYU is. But they're winning football games. Kansas, very unpredictable team, and also just it's kind of been proven that they're not very good. So
Provo, tough place to play late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Real tough
especially
place
when
to
they're
play.
undefeated.
Especially when they're undefeated.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 obviously is rigging games for them. So
Yeah.
says the Utah AD.
They got everybody on their side.
Allegedly.
People are going to want Kansas to win this game so bad. They're going to want this to kind of be the, hey, this is the exposed BYU game for not being a legit top 10 team. And I don't think it's going to be that. Kansas has been so.
We have some latest developments from the research team.
Okay.
We're getting a snow game on Saturday. BYU rolls.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
How much snow?
Snow game.
We're talking about like
Talking about some snow showers.
a tundra
Like inches?
I think maybe just like a nice, I don't know.
covering.
Yeah.
Like a nice layering.
Ah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Are they
fun.
going to be breaking out the sweeping brooms to mark off the field?
I don't know if it's going to be that much, but it's
Okay.
going to be aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, Kansas ain't ready for that.
Mm-mm. They're focused on hoops, man. It's hoop season
You're
for them.
right. It is hoop season.
They checked
Bill
out.
Self just won his 591st game.
See? It's hoop
for
season.
him,
That's what
dude.
they're focused on.
Passing somebody named Fogue Allen.
Fogo de Chao.
Delightful place.
Love it.
Haven't been in a while.
Haven't been either.
Yeah, an interesting concept as well.
it left
What
a
an
good impression
what
on me.
an American idea. Let's take somebody else's food and then just allow Americans to eat as much possible as they can. And when they're full, they just flip it over to red. And then when they want to eat again, they just flip it over to green.
It's beautiful.
Love it.
I love this
You
country.
just shave the meat right off of your table.
I love this country, dude.
It's awesome. What do you think's about to happen as they go to this ranking show here in a second, boys?
I wouldn't be surprised, one, if Georgia's not in the top 12, and two, if we don't see a Miami. I don't think Miami's going to be in the top 10 either.
You think Miami's out of the top 10?
I mean, probably. Actually,
Not
no.
bad.
Here's the thing. Miami's either going to fall out of the top 10 or they're going to be still number 4. Because someone from the ACC's got to get the first round bye. It's whether or not the committee believes that SMU is now the front runner in this, or Miami is.
So the key thing tonight, if you're obviously watching us right now and you're not watching ESPN, but they're going to give us their 1 through 12 rankings. We need to pay far more attention to that now that ACC teams like Miami have lost, where they rank them in that top 12, because you're right. They're going to presume them to be the ACC champ. So when they give the bracket, they're going to put Miami in at 4 or in at 3 or wherever. But where they rank them in that top 12 really is the ultimate deciding factor. You're right there. I think we need to pay close attention going into this, how they rank where Indiana's at in comparison to Tennessee, Ole Miss and Alabama, where they land and whatnot. I think those are some of the more interesting and compelling talking points. What other things are y'all looking forward to seeing how the committee kind of decides tonight?
I think I'm paying attention to where they're putting all of these Big Ten teams, especially with there's been some shifting in the top 10 based on what has happened this past weekend. Because if they are just kind of all grouped together, I think that there is potential to where even if Indiana loses to Ohio State, I mean, based on where they put them this weekend or today or tonight, I think there is potential where you could lose a close one to Ohio State. Maybe you're still in good shape to make a playoff.
What are you paying attention to, Kirk?
I mean, other than where Georgia and Miami fall, I kind of want to see what they do with Boise State here. Are they going to stay at the 12 spot, or is there kind of an opportunity for them to jump and see, hey, maybe they can sneak in? Because realistically, if Boise State's ranked higher than one of the other Power 4 conferences, they're getting the first round bye.
I will say this, in years past, they've done a little Fugazi love to the Cinderella story early on in these rankings. They've ranked one of these non-Power 5 teams a little bit higher than most people expect for people to have the response of, oh, look, they respect these non-Power 5 teams, and then at the end of the year ultimately bump them back down.
Yeah, and I don't think this will be the week they do it because Boise State struggled against a Nevada team that.
Yeah, need a fourth quarter score.
It's Nevada, so I don't think they're going to climb that much.
Nevada gave SMU a scare earlier in the year too. Might not be a slouch.
Wasn't that first week of the season?
Yeah.
SMU, totally different football team since then. They were rotating quarterbacks at the time.
Yeah.
Have now fully gone away from Preston Stone and gone to the preseason backup.
Yep.
All right, looks like they're gearing up to give us the.
All right, let's go back over to the desk and see what's going on in these rankings reveals. All righty. What a cool concept that one little internet show live from the basement of their mother's home can have such cool technology and all these cameras to be running around and doing all this good stuff for my ADD ass brain. While we have a quick break in the action, I want to give another quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. Using promo code YouTube150, you can get a 150% deposit match over there on your first deposit and 125% deposit match up to $2,000 on your next 2 deposits. It's the place to be, fastest withdrawal and deposit process in the industry. I feel like there were some other things maybe to potentially talk about. I wasn't going to deliver this half-baked take, but I'll do it now that we got a bunch of people watching and we got time to kill. Boys, I got a theory. I was mentally giving Stephen A. Smith some shit for his take about Deion Sanders going to the Cowboys and how the Cowboys might need to tank in order to get Shedeur and then ultimately to sign Deion to be their head football coach. And look, I think that's a little cockamamie theory. I think that's a little bit out there. Tanking in the NFL is a forbidden clause. At least that's what they'll tell you. However, I do stand on the idea and the fact that, or at least the opinion, that Deion Sanders would be a far better NFL coach than he even is a really, really good college coach. Because I think he's proven through this season at least that he's at least defied some of the doubters that they had on the whether or not this guy can coach theory. But here's my thought process behind this, guys. Your job as an NFL football coach is to elevate, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go out and sign new players. You don't have to worry about talent acquisition. All you got to do is maximize the people around you and elevate the people around you. And I think that's the definition of what Deion Sanders is now as a coach and as a non-player. As a player, he was a transcendent talent. I mean, he was so good that he made other people around him good. But now he's an aura play. I mean, this dude, when you get around him, people seem to want to be better, right? Seem to want to elevate themselves. He's an elevator, right? In college right now, he's got to worry about continuously restacking his roster and doing all that good stuff. I think in the pro ranks, he just gets to do what he does best, which is make really good people even better.
The problem I have with that is that the success of his team has, as long as he's been at Colorado, for as long as he's been most places, has hinged on the ability of 1 or 2 star players. If Shedeur and Travis Hunter don't give you really good nights or don't at least look like themselves, Colorado has not won those football games. It's the reason why they lost to Kansas State when Travis Hunter got hurt. It's the reason why when Shedeur Sanders did not look good against Nebraska, they got smoked. So, I mean, that's kind of why I'm hesitant to believe this take. Yes, his job isn't other. Yes, it's not as much be the, X's and O's guy that you need him to be, but I also don't know if he has elevated the entire roster around him. There's still a lot of holes on Colorado.
Well, yeah, there were tremendous amounts of holes when they were 0-11. All I'm saying is that, they have all those holes right now. He's not playing on an even playing field. You put him on one of the 32 teams in the league, it's automatic. It's the most even playing field he's had as a football coach. Now, he had a field tilt in his advantage in the HBCU ranks. I'll give you that.
Yes.
When he was at Jackson State, no one had more resources in the HBCU ranks than Deion Sanders. Now he's playing with a not so loaded deck of cards, and he's still doing a really good job. Just a thought.
Plus, I mean, him as a head coach in the NFL, you would think that would give that organization an advantage in the free agency market.
Correct.
There's certainly pull of, I can sign and go play for Deion Sanders. I think that would create some pull there, and also I think that he would just kind of get to do what he does best. It's not recruiting. He wouldn't have to do any of that. He would just be a football coach, and I think that's what he does best. He's a football coach.
I'm just not ready to stamp Deion Sanders as.
I mean, you're just a Deion hater. I'll stamp you.
No, I'm just not ready to stamp Deion Sanders as, yes, he would be a quality NFL coach because of what he's done in 3/4 of a college football season.
No, I'm not saying that he'd be a
in
fantastic
what we
hire,
believe is one of the
but-
worst Power 4 conferences in the league right now.
All right,
this
so
is
they
them
have
giving the rundown.
they have started the college football playoff rankings show. They're going through the explanation of what's going on in this 12-team playoff, all that good stuff. So we're about to get our rankings, I would imagine. They don't have a tremendous amount of time to drag this one out tonight, do they, boys?
No.
I think they have till 9, right?
All right, but they still at least got to get some hot takes from my man Boog on the stage there. So we're going to have some time, I would imagine.
Right, here we go.
All right, I think this is the releasing of it right now as you guys are waiting hand and foot right now for these rankings. So here we go. Number 25, the Green Wave, Tulane at 8-2. Previously unranked. Good for those guys. Where do you think South Carolina falls on this one, boys? Do you think they jump inside the top 20?
It'll be
They
within the
should
next
be,
two
yeah.
spots.
It'll be within the next 2 spots, he says. Army with the Freedom Drive in at number 24.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to the Freedom Drive. Army had a 13-minute offensive drive this week to win a 14-3 slobber knocker. Missouri comes in at number 23 at 7-2, and a collective ew from the desk.
Disgusting.
I said, ooh.
Oh, you said ooh, we said ew. LSU
Ooh,
at number
damn.
22.
So either South Carolina got a big bump in rankings where they're not ranked.
Hey man, you beat that Vandy pimp in Nashville. You're gonna get that SEC short
they
bump.
are.
Yeah.
There is South Carolina in at number 21, previously unranked on the college football playoff committee rankings. Now getting that 21 spot. I believe they were 23 on the AP poll this week.
They were, yeah.
So the college football playoff rankings, a slight bump on the SEC there, according to the Associated Press poll. We'll see number 20 here in just a minute. They like to go 25 to 21 and then go 20 to 15 or 20 to 16 rather.
Looks like they've got a spot for one more to reveal it.
Excuse me, Clemson in at number 20, up 3 spots from last week, in at 7-2. 0 chance to make the college football playoff, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're
I don't
cooked.
see it happening. Oh, dang, they're rolling through it.
Louisville at number 19 here at 6-3. I think we played this nice, boys. I think we gave ourselves a nice little cushion here, dumping all of our clip of topics prior to the rankings show. 18, Wazoo, Washington State, representing the POC2 really, really well.
The what?
The POC2. I mean, it's not two-pack.
That sounded like a very
It's
vital.
not two-pack.
That boy Mateer.
It's Tupac. So I guess that would be the Tupac, not the
Colorado
POC2.
at 17.
Colorado in at number 17, up 3 spots
They're
from a week
climbing,
ago.
man.
They are climbing. Well, defensive performance last week against Texas Tech. Solid dub. Hey, by the way, if you are new today, if you have found us, go ahead and hit that subscription button. We appreciate you for being here. I see our numbers climbing slightly. I bet that's an algo play right there. Cool. Shout out to you guys for being here. We talk a lot of college football around here Monday through Thursday live, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Also do a lot of film studies. Number 16, Kansas State, in up 3 spots from a week ago. I think they had a bye week this last week.
Yeah, I don't think they had anything.
I think they were off. You think they're regretting pushing Will Howard out of town?
A little bit.
You think so?
Do you think Will Howard's making that much of a difference for them, though?
No, I think 7-2 is the standard, right?
I
Yeah.
thought you were about to flip your take on Will Howard. I was like,
No,
holy shit.
I'm king anti-Will Howard deep state. Texas A&M, after a week off, drops a spot down to 15. They had a week off, right?
They did.
Yeah, after getting thumped by South Carolina on the road. So we're going to get 14 here in a second. Anything stand out on that list for you, boys?
LSU dropped a good bit. That tells me that the committee is very low on just how they performed.
Yeah, it was a big dookie laid out there on a home field too.
It is crazy that LSU, Texas A&M still in a spot, still in the fight for a SEC championship game appearance.
SMU
Yeah.
at 14.
Okay, SMU at 14. That's no movement for them. They were off this week, I think. Boise State, the highest ranked non-power 5. They're at number 12. So who's at 13?
So Boise State's ranked 13th, but they get the 12th spot because they would be the.
So they dropped spots this week because of a non-style point win over Nevada.
Correct, but they're still the highest ranked non-power 5.
Oh, so we get our first charity case right
so
there.
Georgia's ranked 12th, so they're the first team out, but they are still technically in the top 12.
What do you think old Pate's poll would have Georgia favored by in a neutral field over Boise State right about now?
Probably about 8 points.
I'd say about 14.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So Georgia is the first team out this week. Good news, obviously, for Georgia fans listening to this today. You have somewhat of your destiny in front of you. Some of this we'll talk about in the local hour. You have an ability to go beat Tennessee. You still have a keynote victory potentially on your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic scenario of committees putting them still in the playoff mix. Technically, they would be out in that scenario, but everything's in front of you still.
Just go ahead and get mentally prepared for this one right here. It's Georgia this week, but at the end of the year, it's going to be somebody.
Yep.
Somebody's going home, and you're going to be pissed off because Boise State's getting in. So just go ahead and mentally prepare yourselves for it as Ole Miss comes in at number 11. So obviously, Alabama going to be ranked higher than Ole Miss, as we ended up settling on last night when we did our own rankings.
And I think Ole Miss being at that spot, that's playing into you lost to Kentucky and you lost to LSU.
Yes.
I think this is good. I know this is a normally people consider us Georgia homers, but it's a reality situation. There's going to be a 10-2 discussion at the end of the year, and it is very clear so far throughout the first 2 weekends of rankings, this committee values quality losses almost as much as they value quality wins. So who you lost to certainly matters as much as who you beat and how you beat them.
Absolutely.
But we say that, and Alabama, a team that they ranked ahead of them, has a loss to Vandy.
Mm-hmm.
So which loss is better? The Vandy loss? Losing to Vandy is better than losing to Kentucky?
Apparently.
As Alabama comes in at number 12.
I think it's also a combination of the wins.
Well, I mean, Vandy beat Kentucky at Kentucky as well, so it makes sense. The they lost to Vandy stuff is going to get thrown at people this year. It shouldn't. Vandy's a really high-quality SEC team this year. Well, middling of the pack SEC football team. It's not like losing to Mississippi State this year.
No, it is not, which no one's really done.
No one has. Not in the SEC, at least. All right, Miami is number 4, but they are ranked number 9.
Correct.
So they dropped from number 3 last week.
Yes, well, they were ranked 4.
They were ranked 4.
Yeah. But
They dropped to 9 after a loss. So they only dropped 5 spots after a road loss to Georgia Tech. Is that right?
Correct.
No, I'm saying, is that right? I know it's correct, but is it right?
I mean, if you stack it up against like what Georgia did this past weekend versus what Miami did. Now, I know Georgia has 2 losses now, but if you compare those losses together, then
Notre Dame in at number 8. Ugh.
Yep.
wow,
God dang it. Tennessee in at number 7, and they get the 8th overall seed. So in this playoff bracket, they would be facing off against Notre Dame, and I think they'd beat the brake drums off of them. All right. So we're gonna get some more here in just a second. That makes me so angry.
It's gonna happen.
It
Dude.
makes me so angry, man. I'm so anti Notre Dame. I'm so anti Notre Dame.
Notre Dame their way to another playoff spot.
You know what, Notre Dame? If you actually go into one of these situations and you're handed these rankings and you go out here and beat one of these teams, I'll shut up forever. I'll shut up forever. No, I won't. No, I won't. I'll hate the Golden Domes forever. BYU in at number 3. But the 6th overall ranked football team.
That's that winning the Big 12 will get you the 3rd seed. So that's crazy to think that they'd be a 3 seed.
Why?
Does this system work for you?
I think the idea that I think next year they're going to reseed all these teams.
Yeah.
I don't think, but it takes away the propensity or the importance of the conference championship game. I like the idea that we are putting importance on the conference championship game. Here's what I don't like. I don't like that some of these conference championship games are going to get decided by, oh, look, coin flip.
No, I don't.
Let's put these 2 teams in.
I don't like the fact that we're treating all conferences championships as equal. The SEC championship should not be equivalent to the Big 12 championship. We've seen the quality of teams that are in both of those. So that's a problem I have with it right now. The fact that if you're an ACC team,
you got a superiority complex.
It's not a superiority complex. Look at the teams, dude.
It's a fact.
The Big 10 and the SEC are the 2 most superior complexes.
I'm with you. I'm in 100% agreement with you. I just had to play a little devil's advocate there because, we get slapped with that bias even though we don't do a whole lot of that.
So there's 5 spots left, and we still haven't seen Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana.
Indiana just came in at 5.
Told you. I think that's setting them up to where if you lose close to Ohio State, you might not get kicked out of this thing.
Yeah, but it also shows me that even though Penn State's already lost to Ohio State, they value them more than you because Penn State's about to come in right above them.
They played Ohio State.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
I mean, it's awesome that they somewhat control their own destiny, Jonathan. when you have the strength of schedule 100th and you play one good football team and you get beat, I think it might open you up.
Same thing can be said for Penn
I mean,
State.
no, it can't. I don't think it can because their strength of schedule is slightly higher.
Well,
Not slightly, it's
it's
considerably.
not
They're like
high.
69th.
It's not high enough.
I mean, 169 are totally different.
I don't see a one-loss team getting punted out of this. I don't.
That's fair. Not a Big Ten or SEC one loss.
No, not at all. Even if we don't think that they're the best.
All right, there's Penn State in at 4. So we know Ohio State's going to be – wait, what do we got left? We got Ohio State, Oregon, and who else? Who's our other team?
Texas.
Texas. I'm an idiot. All right, so we'll probably get
Texas,
Ohio State, Oregon. And that'll be it. Huh. What are the big talking points that we haven't already hit on?
Give me a second.
Some of those matchups are kind of interesting.
Interesting that Bama travels to Indiana.
Yeah.
That's something that you never probably thought would happen. I think that's what's great about the playoff is getting those types of things.
Yeah.
Texas comes in next.
Yeah, Texas is
Texas in at number 2 overall seed, number 3 overall ranking, and that'll put Ohio State in that 5 spot facing off against Boise State. That's the one you want, right? You want that non-power 5 team.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State would be favored by like 17 points in that game.
I told you that 5th seed is the place to be, and we'll talk about it when the bracket comes out. But I guarantee the 5th seed is going to be a very smooth sailing to the semifinals at least.
Still respecting Indiana and BYU. I like BYU's undefeated schedule right now better than Indiana's. I'll tell you that much. You got 2 current ranked wins. Indiana has nothing.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really matter right now. That's what everybody will tell you. It doesn't really matter.
No, it matters.
You guys are typing it up. We're going to send this to the local hour right now because the boys got a lot to cover, and we have a whole lot to cover in the local hour as well. We'll see you on the other side here in about 45 seconds.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into the Film Guy Network on what is set to be a loaded local hour for you guys tonight. We'll have a little bit more college football playoff rankings reactions as the show continues. But I want to open with perhaps the biggest news. Obviously, this college football playoff stuff will get figured out. A lot of it will get figured out this weekend based off some of these SEC games, like the one Georgia and Tennessee are set to face off with Saturday at 7:30 inside Sanford Stadium. The news today, boys, Nico Iamaleava.
Iamaleava. You got it. Come on. Try again.
One more time.
Iamaleava.
Nico is in concussion protocol. This is obviously a little bit of clarification on the injury that happened Saturday against Mississippi State. Very weird to find out this was a head injury. I find myself, or I pride myself on being able to medically diagnose injuries on television copies. I thought that was a rib injury for sure.
Yeah.
And it come to find out it was a head injury. Somebody
Well,
said, Brooks, you sound kind of sick. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. The boy is hurting, but we are fighting through pain tonight, baby.
Attaboy. Push through.
Yeah, got
It's the only
to.
option.
Got to.
Good job.
I did think it was I think what's most interesting about this update though is that Monday Josh Heupel comes into his press conference and his phrasing was a little interesting. I believe he said Nico was with the team at practice today. I don't think he explicitly said that Nico practiced, but he follows that up by saying he's in good shape to play this weekend against Georgia. And then today you have the Bear saying, "Oh, I have it on good authority from my sources that he's not going to play." And then Pete Thamel comes out with his own update saying, "Monitor this one. It's looking very questionable that he's going to get to go this weekend."
Look, I don't condone skating by concussion protocol, but I will give you a tip. When you take a baseline test, just don't do so well on it. That way you can get back through concussion protocol really quickly. 'Cause
Oh, I'm sure.
for those of you who don't know, this is how concussion protocol at least used to work. I would imagine it's still this way.
I was about to say, yeah.
You get a concussion. You have to eventually pass your baseline mental acuity test, okay? You go in there, you take a mental acuity test. It has to pass or at least be within, I think, 10% of your baseline test that you take during fall camp, okay? Once you get within that mental capacity threshold, then we take you through the physical, requirements. You got to run without a headache. You got to be able to run without pain. You got to be able to go through a day's worth of class and workload without any headaches or anything like that. You have to pass all the symptoms, and then they clear you for practice. That could take anywhere from 5 to 7 days. Normally, it's not within the same week. Not normally. But no one, like I said, no one has said concussion. The reports are that he's in concussion protocol. We don't know that he's had a concussion, but normally if you're in concussion protocol, you've probably had some type of ding. We'll call it a ding.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure the protocols that they do in college are more advanced than the high school ones that are done, or the ones that, like, high-level NCAAs have probably adapted a little bit. So, I mean, who knows what concussion protocol is? Like you said, there's probably the baseline of the tests and everything like that, but I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they do that on the field. So I don't know what the test is going to look like. I don't know if there's going to be a timetable. The best thing to say about this is we'll find out tomorrow evening when the injury report comes out. He'll probably list it.
We'll find out his status. We won't find out the injury.
Right. He'll probably be listed as questionable or doubtful or game time decision. But
That's what I was going to say is on Saturday, I would probably go to say that he's labeled as a game time decision, and it probably will be that. It probably will be an actual game time decision of whether or not Nico is going to play.
All right, because we're getting fact checked right now in the chat by, I would assume, Tennessee fans. So thank you for watching today. Pete Thamel, sources: Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava is in concussion protocol after leaving the Mississippi State game last week with an injury and not returning to the sideline for the second half. Okay, he did dress and practice Tuesday. Dress and practice was the terminology there. So Heupel, like you said, extended very optimistic timelines on Nico. How does this impact the football game? I think it's pretty obvious. His legs are the most important aspect right now that he adds. Even Gaston Moore, I think they're calling him Mr. Throw That Bitch Up. I think that's what Tennessee fans are calling him. He has no fear of throwing the deep ball, but they as an offense this year, it's been their Achilles heel. They haven't been able to hit those even with Nico in there. Some of that stuff was getting cleaned up in that Kentucky football game early on in that Mississippi State football game. However, it's lacked consistency. This football team has been about running the ball and playing defense, though, all year, and I don't think that changes at all with Nico being potentially banged up.
yeah, I think the thing this changes more is how the outcome of the game is viewed. Because if you're Tennessee, this has to feel, hypothetically, if Nico doesn't play, let's just say that he can't go Saturday, he doesn't play, he's a non-factor. This is kind of a mulligan for Tennessee, don't you think? I mean, if they lose, your second loss is, we didn't have our starting quarterback. The committee's going to look at that. And for Georgia, I think it also makes the win over Tennessee look a lot less shiny. Because, you beat the number 17, but it was at home and they didn't have their starting quarterback. So, I honestly, if you're a Georgia fan, I think you want Nico to play in this game. I think you want him to be absolutely healthy because of the fact that you need this win against Tennessee to look as good as it can be. So,
I think it plays both ways. I think that Georgia at this point, you really don't need any more beefing of your schedule. I don't think you need too many more ornaments hung on the tree for you to get into this college football playoff. Because the notion is you went out, you're a 10-2 team, you survived the three road game gauntlet, or you walked away with 2 losses, which still puts you in the playoff picture. As was shown, I know they were the first team out in this week's rankings, but you get another win and you went out the rest of the way and you handle business, and I would imagine they would still have you in that picture. But would it look and probably propel you up the rankings? The thing that would do, I believe, is it would put Georgia in a better position to potentially host a home game in the first round as opposed to you're going on the road somewhere else in the first round.
I think this is a must-win football game for both these teams.
I agree.
it's clearly a must-win game for Georgia.
Yeah, I think it's a must-win game for Tennessee because in all of the 10-2 scenarios, it's going to come down to worst loss. And Arkansas it's a pretty ugly loss. Now, I know people will say, but the Vandy loss for Alabama. That's correct. They have that as well. But I don't know. I don't want to be in a situation, but for any of these teams, where you're one of the 10-2 teams left holding the bag, hoping that you win the semantics argument.
And I mean, the thing about the Vandy loss is that Alabama has 2 really quality wins to supplement that
Correct.
loss. Tennessee only has 1 at the moment. You would need that second one against Georgia. It's almost like the committee views it as 2 really good wins counteract a really bad win. And that's what it looks like you need right now for Tennessee. So,
All right, some other quarterback-related news, guys. Julian Lewis, it was reported today, will be in Athens for a visit. I want to start this with this. First and foremost, I believe, and Georgia seems to believe, as of right now, this young man is probably going to Colorado. All right, so I think that's what everybody thinks is happening before we get into this take. So why would this individual be coming to Georgia? Well, it behooves everybody involved. It behooves Julian Lewis to sit down and have a conversation. It behooves Georgia to sit down and have a conversation because that's what this is. It's all business nowadays, all right? So maybe Georgia doesn't have an opportunity to get things done right now, but Julian Lewis has a 36-month lifespan, maybe 48-month lifespan in college football. You want those relationships to continue. That's what you want to have happen. So I think this behooves everybody to have a realistic and serious conversation. I think one thing is very, very clear to me with Julian Lewis, the news about Julian Lewis this week being in town, the news about Georgia offering the Hawaiian individual, the left-handed quarterback out from Hawaii, with Georgia recently offering Kamario Taylor, the quarterback out of Mississippi that is committed to Mississippi State. Those actions alone tell me one thing, and one thing very, very clear. They are very obviously in the market for an additional body in the 2025 class at the quarterback position. They're trying to find out who the right one is, or if there might be a right one out there, and I think there's a multitude of reasons why. One, first and foremost, Ryan Montgomery tore his ACL. Okay, so that's going to be a recovery project even when he gets to Athens this fall, or excuse me, in January. So there's that. But I think there's also a realistic conversation that needs to be had on this network about what is laying out over the next, 30 days. Guys, the transfer portal opens in 20 days, all right? And when that happens, if you need a starting quarterback next year, if you don't think that the starting quarterback, if you don't know, I shouldn't say think, if you don't know that Gunnar Stockton and Jaden Rashada is your guy, then you have to be heavily active in the portal this fall and like right now, because we know that second patch of quarterbacks and second patch of portal players in the spring, that I'm not going to say it's not worth the hill and beans, but there ain't starters in that mix unless somebody who has a really good quarterback either leaves or gets fired, and then all of a sudden they're up for availability and free agency. They have to know what's going on right now in their room over the next 20 days. And I hate that the timeline has been jumped up like that, but that's the reality. You don't want to be in May thinking, we don't have a guy, we need to go find one. You ain't going to go find one.
Well, and that's the interesting thing, too, about the expanded playoff of not only are you putting more teams in the college football playoff, but all of those teams also have players on that roster that have to make decisions about their future within that time frame. I mean, they have to be realistic about where they're at on the roster, what they think is the best move for them, and programs at the same time. You're trying to fight in the college football playoff. You're trying to prepare for your next matchup, and you're trying to get to the road to the national title. But you also have to kind of start evaluating your own roster for next year. You have to start paying attention to what is going on next year. And you have to be careful about doing that. I mean, we saw what happened with Mike Norvell when he kind of was just like, put his current roster in the dust right now. I have to go focus on what my team can do next year and get that ready. And the roster got pillaged. I mean, it just got left behind, and everything, it kind of just overflowed. Everything did. So it's a very conflicting time of events, what's going to happen in December.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that, you have to know what you have in your quarterback room within the next 20 days. I think this is why Kirby Smart was so adamant about let's get a fourth body in there. Let's get a Jaden Rashada in there, a guy who was extremely talented coming out of high school, where even if, maybe necessarily Gunnar Stockton's not the answer, you have 2 other options opposed to, okay, well, Gunnar Stockton's not the answer, we're kind of screwed. I think that's why Kirby Smart wanted 4 scholarship quarterbacks on roster. And it seems to be paying off right now because it seems like you're gearing up for a massive 2025 quarterback race, depending on whether if they stay with the 3 they've got in-house or whether they go into the transfer portal and try to get another one. There's going to be a massive heated quarterback battle coming into 2025.
I would wonder, as a football coach, how you go about evaluating whether or not you have the guy while having the guy right now. And here's what I'm talking about. They obviously have to prepare everything they can to make sure Carson Beck's ready to play every single week. But they also have to know whether or not Gunnar Stockton and Jaden Rashada are the guy by December 2nd or December 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Because by then, if they're not, you have to go find a starter that's able to carry a championship caliber roster to the playoff next year. And I just wonder how you balance that dichotomy as a football coach right now. And I wonder if other football teams are having to do this.
I don't know.
I don't know how it's a mess. It's why I wonder why there even is a first window right now in December. So weird.
I mean, it's for the players, obviously. Like, you give the players the opportunities, be fair to them, let them have the most opportunities they can to hit the transfer portal. And
we're about to give them a portion of revenue, so I think that in exchange we might be able to get some year-long contracts out of that. If I'm a football coach right now, fighting on the other side of this, or if I'm the NCAA fighting in house versus NCAA, in those negotiations, I'm starting to think about maybe we get some contract lengths on some of these.
I do think it almost makes too much sense for it to be, all right, you have your early National Signing Day period, which is in December, and then you have National Signing Day, which the college football playoff now goes into late January. You're no longer finishing up the season within like the first week of January. It now pushes back almost to the very end of the month. Why would you not let all of the recruiting settle down? You have your class. Once the final game is played next day, transfer portal is open. You now have from this point of January to like the end of February or however many days you want it to be open to put your name in the portal, and then by spring ball, you have to be settled down.
You know why? They will hide behind the colloquialism of academia. They will say we can't open a portal window in January 25th when kids are already enrolled in classes. They can't get out of classes. They'd be academically ineligible for the fall. It's the whole rigmarole about we're trying to hide the fact that this isn't professional sports behind the fact that this is academics. You're pulling yarn. That's what you're doing. You're a cat pulling yarn out of the yarn ball, watching a new one pop out every time you do it. Going, ooh, let me fix that problem. Ooh, let me fix that problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the ultimate answer is, like I said, once revenue sharing models are approved and you have to give a portion of these revenues out, that comes with a contract. You become a pseudo employee at that point. And we all know as employers or as employees, we have contract stipulations. I didn't make you guys sign contracts, but we got verbal agreements. We know what it is, right? Same thing. When you sign over for your portion of revenue, you're going to sign a contract. It's going to come with stipulations.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what's your new signing day is going to entail of, hey, this is your deal for however long you're obligated to be at this university. So,
all right, so the recruiting list I put up on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. The list I got's got 200 names, something like that. I put up about 50 on Patreon today. It's basically every big recruit in the Southeast and that guy Mark Bowman, who they're calling Brock Bowers Jr. for Matter Day. It's basically everybody except Justice Terry and Kevin Wynn, which immediately created panic. But let me settle some panics. They play this Saturday or else they'd be in town. I've also been given good authority that they still might effort to get into town, despite the fact that they play on Saturday.
They have like an early afternoon game?
Most Saturday playoff games are at noon.
Gotcha.
In the state of Georgia. Kevin plays in Florida, but no, he's South Georgia, isn't he?
I can't remember.
I think Kevin's South Georgia, way South Georgia. But either way, both those guys play on Saturday or else they would probably be in town. It's a deep one, man. It is a deep, deep recruitment list.
It's a big game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest home game of the season, so why would you not save it up? And especially, it lines up perfectly for you because, like we just mentioned, December is almost here. That's when early National Signing Day is. This is your opportunity to make one big push right now where at like a dire need moment of, if you want to make a push, now's the time to do it.
If you were Georgia, would you rather sign a second quarterback in 2025 or go get a body out of the portal?
It's hard to say because you have no idea who's going to enter the portal.
You also have no idea what you have. As much as I consider myself a talent evaluator, as much as I consider myself an inside, guy, this guy intel, I'm gonna be honest with you because I always am on this network. I got no idea. I know Gunner's the backup, but if they open that up right now, I have no idea who wins that sucker. Maybe they do. Maybe they have an inkling. But how could you? Rashada got there in July, right?
Right.
He wasn't there this spring.
Yes.
He got there this summer. You think they've been given one? They do. They practice the threes. They do. They do it more at Georgia than they claim anywhere else in the country. However, it ain't like they're opening up a position battle right now in practice.
Yeah, no.
So you're making this decision on 3 years or 4 years that you've seen of practice of Gunner and whatever you've seen over the last 6 months in Rashada?
I would get a body out of the recruiting portal, or I would get someone out of the recruiting process just because
A high school player.
Yeah, just because I don't necessarily think that you have a clear-cut starter coming into the transfer portal this year that I would say if that person enters the portal, they're a starter on this year's roster, one. So why not get the maximum eligibility left?
If you're going to get a high school kid, I think the high school kid that you get has to be the one who's most ready to play in case he has to play. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm signing Kamario Taylor.
Yeah.
Kamario Taylor's a big project. He's got a lot of traits, and the tape is phenomenal. He is definitely a dual threat. He's 6'4", he's 225 pounds, and 95% of the time he's the best athlete on the field. There's a lot of development in the throwing motion, as was on display at the Elite 11 event that I went out to in California. Same could be said about the Hawaiian quarterback, right? I think that's going to be a transition period for anybody that comes from that side of the world and comes over here and plays SEC football. That being said, I think Julian Lewis is as close to his ceiling as any of these athletes that we're talking about right now. That is a very well-polished football player. If he got thrown out into an SEC field on Saturday, I think he'd survive more than the others.
Yeah, that's the thing of it. It really truly depends on what you feel like you need this offseason. Like if you think that if you had to choose between Puglisi, Rashada, and Gunnar Stockton, like next month for the starting quarterback, and you feel like you have a good idea of like one of these guys is going to be our guy, like you think you have it boiled down to that, then yeah, go get a recruit, go add another body to the room because you're going to need one. But if you feel like it's still like you feel like it's completely wide open, then yeah, go test the market in the portal.
What if one of these quarterbacks, I know it's way too early to do the what ifs, but what if one of these quarterbacks hits the portal in the middle of a playoff run?
That was going to be my question is what's the likelihood that the three that you have left on the roster right now, because obviously Carson Beck's gone no matter what, the three you have on the roster right now, what's the likelihood that they stay within the roster coming in? And you don't have to say, this person's like, just what's the likelihood that all three are on your roster?
So traditionally history says that one of them's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
That's college football history.
Yeah.
Normally Georgia's history says these guys wait way longer than typical standards. I would be checking eligibility and where you are graduation wise. Like there was a time last year where I think it was last year, maybe the year before, people were thinking Brock Vandagriff was going to transfer, but I was like, he's 6 months from graduating the University of Georgia with a degree. He's sticking around. So I would be, it sounds goofy, but I'm checking transcripts. Like where are guys at credit wise? Like if Gunnar Stockton is 8 hours away from graduating from the University of Georgia, he's probably waiting until the spring portal to hit, if he's going to hit. You know what I'm saying? That would be the things that I would be looking into and the stuff that I need to go do some research on.
I do wonder if, like you are on a playoff team, if these players will have the ability to say, hey, I'm in the portal, but I'm still here. Like if your team still needs you for a body, like you're still relying on that. Like I'm in the portal, I'm still here.
If this were ever possible, the Murphy kid from or not Murphy, the kid that transferred to Duke from Texas last year.
Yeah, Malik Murphy.
Yeah, Malik Murphy. If this were possible at all, they would have enacted that rule last year for him, I would have thought.
Well, I think it's also discretion of the coach. Like some coaches say, oh, you're in the portal, all right, bye. Like you're not on a program anymore, you're not with us anymore. There's some coaches, I remember, this was ages ago in the college football world, but when Justin Fields announced he was in the portal, Kirby Smart said that, he's still with the team, he's still practicing, he's still doing a great job with us. Obviously, he never saw the field again, but he still was, quote unquote, with the team.
Because you didn't have anybody else behind Jake Fromm. It was Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. And my point, too, is like coaches do this. Coaches take a job like Dan Lanning. He took the Oregon job, but he finished out the national title run with Georgia before he took that job. And people will still do the thing of, oh, go ahead and leave. You're not focused on us anyways. We don't want you here. You're not going to be locked in on what we got going on right now because you're already focused on what's next for you. But again, like you still need your defensive coordinator in those moments. You still might need your backup quarterback down the stretch. Like maybe not someone like Georgia who still has plenty of bodies, which I'm sure Kirby Smart has already thought of these things. It's one of the reasons why he always is wanting 4 bodies in the 4 scholarship quarterbacks. But some of these other programs probably do not have that luxury on their roster.
Did Beats by Bill get a national championship ring?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Because he was like the only guy that left very early. Most of Georgia transfers kind of drag their feet. They're not the ones rushing to the portal entry. So we'll see.
I'd imagine he probably got one.
You think so?
Why wouldn't you?
Oh, no, he does have sick beats. Where do we want to go next, boys?
Have you seen the stats about thank God this is a home game? I mean, Kirby Smart kind of like placed emphasis on the Monday presser of, thank God this is a home game. But Brandon Zimmerman put out a tweet today that laid out a couple of stats for this. I didn't realize it was this crazy. Do you want me to read them off to you real quick?
Please. I would love this.
So Georgia has played 10 of its last 13 games away from Athens. That dates back. That's not including, that's including the last
That's
two
bowl
seasons.
games, SEC championship game, all that good stuff.
Correct.
So they closed last year's stretch on the road too?
Yeah.
Regular season?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, at Tech.
Yep.
Georgia's last 7 games against ranked opponents have all come away from Athens, including 4 straight against top 10 teams.
That's brutal.
Brutal. Georgia's 3 home games over the last year were all against teams with a losing record.
I saw a stat that they have more road games against top 25 opponents this year than they do home games.
Yep.
Yeah, checks out. This will be Georgia's first home game in 35 days. It's their first home game against a ranked opponent in 371 days. And it's their first home game at night in 371 days.
I'm sorry, and you're going to call me biased for saying this, but if they survive this schedule with 2 losses, there is just no way they get left out of the college football playoff.
I
right?
agree.
I mean, clip that right now because you're going to see riots if that's the case. What a schedule.
You would have every right to riot at that
Is this
point.
tougher than the Florida schedule?
It's turned out to be, I would
It's
say.
turned out to be a grinder.
Because, I mean, let's be honest. Like, obviously the Miami game, that one held up by all accounts. That one held up for you as a tough game. But the UCF one, I mean, they're an okay football team. I wouldn't say that that's Florida State. That was taken into account of this Florida schedule as well. Florida State is horrible right now.
Yeah.
It should win that game.
Florida has had to play Texas. They have had to play Georgia. They had to play those 2 teams back-to-back weeks. They still have to play LSU. So it is still a tough schedule. But I think that Georgia's I think they're pretty comparable.
I don't want to miss a super chub, but I was just trying to find a way to weave this one into the discussion, and I couldn't find it. So we're going to hit it right now because I don't want Alan Berry to think that I'm ignoring him. Super chub from Alan says, did you see that Connor Stalions was hired at Bryce Underwood's school? Why would you want him at your school? Well, first of all, kind of wicked smart, like a lunatic by all means. But, most wicked smart people are kind of lunatics.
Yeah.
I would imagine that dude could really dissect a high school football team. If you've got tendencies, that man's going to find them.
What's that team's record right now? Because I remember
They've got 1 loss.
one.
Last I checked, they have 1 loss.
Well, I remember they got blown out in their first game. It was kind of like a ha ha ha.
Talking about Belleville?
No.
Oh, you talking about?
Stott.
No, yeah, he's already been fired as an interim football coach.
Yeah, so.
As a head coach, but they've hired him to be an analyst. Hey, come help us out. Also, most people correlating this directly to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's guys still got Michigan ties? Michigan people feel like they would be the ones that would be like, you know what, you did the right thing, Connor. You were for the blue. We're still going to support you.
They absolutely still have ties with him. I can guarantee it. I think he's probably at some point trying to align his way to get back into coaching, which, I mean, follow your dreams, man. Good for you. But, like,
Not a Stallions fan, huh?
I mean, it's just like your name is going to be stained forever. Whether or not what you did was egregiously wrong, the biggest sin in college football, people say, it happens all the time. The name Stallions automatically comes with a stink. So, and by the way, you have a show clause, does he not? Like
I
a
think
6-year show clause. So,
by the way, Georgia has eclipsed Florida with the strongest strength of schedule in college football. They are now number 1. Florida is number 2. So says the research department.
checks out. And I mean, yeah, how are you going to keep a team that will have 2 top 10 wins if they beat Tennessee this weekend, and their only 2 losses will be to top 10 teams that were on the road in hostile environments? So, yeah,
7 of the top 8 are from the SEC. It looks like 9 of the top 11 are from the SEC. So, look, people like Danny Cannell would say even those rankings have bias in them. Whatever, dude. Check the draft records. I mean, it is what it is. This is the hardest conference to play in, week out. And it's become harder and harder, it seems, over the years.
Plus, I do think it's funny that anybody that would claim there's SEC bias or anything like that, like over the years it was, well, Georgia just has to deal with the East. Like Kirby Smart just has to deal with the weak East, and they get a cakewalk to the SEC championship. Like they're basically gifted a spot in the college football playoff if they go undefeated in the regular season, like they should. This, that, and the other. But they opened it up this year, and your points were proven of the SEC is the hardest to play because all of these teams are eating each other alive right now. That proves to you when you put the top teams against one another, there are no divisions, and you're consistently playing one another. Yeah, it is going to happen. It proves to me that it is the best conference in college football, in my opinion.
Dare I say their schedule would have been harder had they been in the East?
What are you trading out? So you're trading out a Texas matchup with South Carolina.
You trade out Texas
You're
for
trading out
Alabama.
a Bama matchup with Vandy. But you're getting Missouri, and you still stick with Tennessee on the schedule,
And you got South Carolina.
and you got South Carolina.
And
I
you
wouldn't
ha-
say it's harder.
And you have a Western. You still have a Western opponent. Whether
It's still freaking brutal.
yeah.
No,
whether
I mean,
Bama
it's
or
still
Texas.
difficult, but I don't think.
And I mean, who's to say where Texas is going to be? Say Texas is in the East.
Well, that's the thing is you wouldn't know because
Yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Right.
And I think it shows you that 1 through 8 in the SEC is far stronger than 1 through 4 in the Big Ten.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way the talent and the efficiency gap between Michigan and Northwestern and where that drop off is in the SEC is all the way down to like South Carolina, and then after South Carolina, it's like the rest of the conferences.
Yeah.
Or rest of the conference teams, it's like Mississippi State, Kentucky's an easy dub right now, but that's it.
But they're not.
But they're not. But they are.
They on paper they're
The
easy dub.
anti-SEC people will tell you that they are.
Right.
The Kentucky's a bad football team, and they will say the same about Mississippi State, rightfully so.
Valid.
But the other 14 members of this conference are like really, really good college football teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe they do deserve, some type of bump at the end of this thing.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get 3 teams in guaranteed. It's the 4th that I'm curious about.
I mean, if there was a conference that's going to get 4 in, it is the SEC. Maybe the Big Ten, but
Maybe.
the Big Ten's got what 4 of the 5 top 5 spots.
Yeah, right now it'd be like, yeah, obviously it's going to be the Big Ten, but
So Georgia in strength of, the SEC in the strength of schedule, I told you, has got 9 of the top 11. The Big Ten pretty much consumes all the spots 12 through 26. So they're far and away the second best conference. And then there's a stern drop off. I would imagine the ACC and Big 12 probably flip flop.
It's 1A and 1B. Like
Yeah.
I don't even feel comfortable saying
No, I think it's 1 and 2. From a 1 through 8 standpoint. If I take the 8 best in the SEC and play them against the 8 best in the Big Ten, those 8 best in the SEC are going to win out. If I take the top 4 from the SEC and play them against the top 4 in the Big Ten, I think it's a wash. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Georgia, you put in the show notes, I don't think they 100% control their own destiny.
Really?
I think there's a world where the 10-2 debate gets you screwed because 2 of the 10-2 teams that you've lost to are 2 of the 10-2 teams that are going to be available. Bama and Ole Miss, you took head-to-head losses to.
I mean, yeah.
That's not going to bode well for you if those are the 2 teams that you're faced against.
I think the best news for Georgia was that Ole Miss was 1 spot ahead of you.
I think the best news for Georgia is that Alabama's got a track to win the SEC, and they get removed from this pool of 10-2 teams because they get an auto bid.
We just talked about this. With this strength of schedule, you go out, you win 2 games, you're in. You lose 2 games, you're in. Like you said that 5 minutes ago. Like
I know.
there's no way that I would be shocked if Georgia does not make the play. They control their own destiny. You beat Tennessee. You obviously handle business against UMass and Georgia Tech. You should be in the playoff. Where you're seated in the playoff, that's to be determined. I don't think the chances of you getting a home playoff game have gone slim, but there's no way that this team's not in the playoff here.
Yeah, I think that
They're sitting at 12 right now. You'd have to imagine that you win out. It's not going to go down at all.
No.
You add a top 10 win to their slate, they're going to be somewhere in the playoff.
I'm with you. And again, we've said it and they've said it. I didn't get to hear my man, what are we calling him again?
Kingpin.
My man Kingpin. We didn't get to hear from my man Kingpin here. But they have been very, very adamant about these quality losses. And like we said at the beginning, there are no 2 higher quality losses than what Georgia's got going on right now.
Nope, not at all.
So that makes you feel kind of warm and fuzzy on the inside. Guys, again, for the second time in 3 years, the Georgia starting quarterback's cell phone number was released by Tennessee fans on social media.
Oh, boy.
And look, I'm going to say this. It was the number that I had. Now,
I'm sure it was a legit number.
that number has since turned green.
Oh, he's an Android guy?
But here's the deal. I haven't used the number in years.
Yeah.
Okay? Obviously. But it was an iPhone number when I used it 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And it's since turned green. So he either has a new number or that number was deactivated this week.
I mean, it's one of the
I know one of the numbers that he uses currently, it is not that one.
Aha. Look at us. Inside sources.
The phone number sources.
The phone number sources.
Yeah, I do know that much. So now that could be like,
And if
that
this
one,
video gets 500 likes, we will drop it in the comments.
that could have just been like what you're saying of as soon as it got leaked, is like deactivate this, like get rid of it. But it also could have been like, that was an old phone, I got a new one, blah, blah, blah.
Now, obviously, this didn't go well for Tennessee the last time they did this to Stetson
No,
Bennett.
it didn't.
He hung a performance up on that head top. But I'm going to spin this again. Obviously, this is not the best time for Carson Beck to even be on social media.
No, it's not.
This would be an ideal time to be locked, as we say, the in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say
This would be an ideal time to be zero dark 30.
This
it
would
ain't
be
like
not-
the man's is flaunting on social media a whole lot anyways. But
Now, this would be an ideal time to. Is that a flip phone when he's getting on the plane?
Ooh, plant the flip phone.
Just go full Stetson.
Yeah, just go ahead and get the buzz cut. Come out with a temp fade.
there you go.
Give it to yourself.
Ooh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
might look rough.
I mean, he gave Stetson the fade.
Mhm.
Sure, he can cut his own hair. Don't you learn on yourself, and then you cut others, or is that the other way around? You cut others until you're good enough to cut yourself.
I think you cut others until you're good enough to cut on yourself.
Oh,
Because I mean, the angle of
I don't know. My dad cut his hair, then he cut mine. So he did it the other way.
sick. I wish I knew how to cut my own hair.
Thoughts on fans leaking phone numbers?
I mean, it's
I
just,
mean, it's fan behavior. It doesn't shock me. The tweet that went with it was wild.
that those two things kind of correlate with one another, in my opinion. The caption that was used for that
I
photo,
can't even remember what it was.
It
just
had-
imagine like Ole Miss student section behavior.
remember when I said nothing surprises me about the frat guys? That's why.
Those two things correlate. People that want to leak someone's phone number and the caption that individual wanted to use.
By the way, I had the discussion about Ole Miss's student section in the media pool today. There were some stories that I think we should talk to you about off air that might change your opinion of, that's student fan behavior. Because it went
No,
overboard.
that's not. I don't think you understood what I was saying yesterday. I wasn't like, that's just frat guys being frat guys. No, I am fully aware of the disgustingly vile things that they're capable of. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I would not be surprised by anything you told me. It's not me saying, that's just what fans do.
It's not you saying, it's okay. It's like nothing will shock me from
yes,
those people.
exactly. That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
that's fair. That's 100% fair, and I'm glad we clarified that one. So yeah, we're all under the belief that you control your own destiny. Even though I don't like the idea of leaving that up. Also, don't like the idea of leaking people's phone
Look,
numbers.
we always said you never want to leave it up to the committee. That like as confident as you might feel going into that final selection show. And look, we learned this last year too, to an extent with Georgia and Florida State. Of at the beginning of the season last year, if you had told Georgia fans, "Hey, you go 12-0, you lose to Bama in the SEC championship game," do you think you're in? They'd be like, heck yeah, we think we're in. We just went undefeated and we only took a close loss to Alabama. It all depends on what else happens in college football. I mean, it's still up for debate of like, if BYU remains undefeated, now they get the top 4 seed, but like it depends on what happens to Indiana. What does Penn State do to close out the season? Ohio State, Oregon, like all these other teams, it really depends on that.
I think the hardest part about it is if you look at the top 12, top 13 technically right now, and you say, assume that you win out here, who's getting bumped? Because I think the only two teams that are playing each other on here, barring conference championships, would be Georgia and Tennessee. And I think we've all kind of agreed that even if Tennessee loses this game against Georgia, they're probably still in the playoff. So I mean, between Oregon,
I don't know, dude.
You're gonna have
I
4
would
or
not
5.
feel confident
there's
about
a
that.
possibility
I thought we
6
said, like,
two-loss SEC teams.
I thought we said a week ago that Tennessee had the easiest path because they can lose to Georgia and they still are fine.
That was
because of the win
that was
against
before
Bama.
the 10-2 blow up happened.
And we said last week too, what creates the most chaos? Georgia loses.
Georgia and Miami lost, and that created chaos.
I know.
So I would not feel great as a
Speaking of
Tennessee
chaos,
fan.
I want to throw a little chaos into the mix here.
Bring it.
Top 3 innovative cell phones. I'm going 1, the BlackBerry.
One iPhone.
No. That's too basic. One, the
That answers
BlackBerry.
2 right.
1, the BlackBerry. 2, the Sidekick. I don't know if y'all remember the Sidekick. Sidekick was touchscreen with a little roller ball,
Yeah.
and then you flipped it full keyboard.
Yeah.
It was elite. Number 3, the Razor. The Razor was all the craze. Not necessarily because the technology behind it was so innovative, because it was so damn thin. And I think that really got to people.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about these phones now that it's a flip phone, but the
Turns
screen,
into a tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
That's kind of innovative.
Except for after a while,
Yeah.
the crease in the middle of the screen becomes a problem, so you have to
Which-
get a new one.
Naturally, manufacturing. That's a great idea. Let's make it to where they have to get a new one in 2 years.
iPhone suggestion in general is just Captain Easy stance.
Now,
No,
if
I
you
mean,
look at it
That's
through
like
this,
saying sliced bread was awesome. It's
But
like, no
We're
shit.
not giving hot takes here. We're making a list, and that
But
is the correct answer.
if you
know
look
it's
at
an
it-
innovative phone, it's been used for almost 20 years now.
if you look at it through this lens of let's go back to when the first iPhone was revealed, that was the most innovative thing
You're right.
ever
You're right.
in the phone
Thank you.
world.
It's an iPod and a phone. Head explode.
No love for
keypad,
the
no keypad, old touchscreen.
I do find myself missing the feeling of the home button click.
Yeah, I do miss that.
I find myself missing that.
no love for the turnstile phone.
Oh, I remember
No.
that. You flip to the side.
Now, I did have a Nextel chirp. We talked about that on this network before. The Nextel was just pristine. Little snake on that game. Little snake game on that phone. Love me a good snake game.
I remember my parents having phones like that, but I was too young to always have one. So
Premiere. Oh, the ESPN phone. Research just reminded me of that. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
ESPN came out with a cell phone.
Yes.
And you know what it was? It was about 15 years way before its time. Because right now, if you had an ESPN phone that you could gamble on, I think people would be all about it.
you can gamble on vapes.
Huh?
Oh, you haven't seen this? Like, there's smart vapes out there with like touchscreens. You can surf the internet and everything.
Oh, we're just trying to combine vices right there for American males age 18 to 27, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing with that one. Just trying to get people nice and addicted to both of those things. Should we go into keys to the win?
yeah.
Let's do it. Who wants to go first?
I'll let you go first.
I'm good. My voice needs a break. That's why I'm tossing to y'all.
Jay, what you want it?
Didn't know I was supposed to prepare these.
Neither did I. That's why I was trying to push.
It was
these,
presented in pre-show of, hey, I've got 3 keys to the win for Georgia and Tennessee.
See, this is another classic miscommunication that only happens on Tuesdays
Yes.
around this network because your boy was at press conferences, which I haven't given notes on, so we can circle back to that if we really wanted to.
we're
Yeah.
just littered with content. man.
Littered with
Too much to
content.
choose from.
Too much. Let's go to press conference notes then, I guess. Man, I took a page and a half of notes today during press conferences. Well, you'd have thought I was on some Adderall. I asked him if you ever prepare the defense for noise, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one because you're not only playing an offense that plays a lot of pace this weekend, they spread out. So it's loud and I got to yell, and I got to yell way out there. He said, yeah, we practice with noise every week. So he kind
Oh, he
of
hit you,
shouting off to
he
the
hit
side.
you with the what a stupid question.
I honestly, and this is my arrogance, this is me, thinking, I'm about to ask this guy a really intuitive question, like a really thoughtful one. Like, do you ever, they play with pace, that's cool, but the space is the problem, coach. They're way out there. We got to yell. Yeah, we already do it. They do it. So that was cool. Monday, practice good. Dinged up, not as physical. Today, high tempo, a lot of speed today. Gave a shout out to the scout team. So the scout team gave a really, really good look today. You think they're 2 platoon in that scout team?
Oh, for sure.
Right, for the
Of course.
pace.
They probably do it most of the time, honestly.
I bet when they're playing like an Alabama or a team that plays with a lot slower pace, it's just give me the best scout team unit we can get.
Yeah, probably.
This week, probably rotate multiple.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked him this before, and he says he doesn't want to give away industry secrets.
Have you asked him off air to give you an answer?
No, I don't get a lot of off-air time with Kirby.
That's fair.
He reserves that for other people. Was asked about Gabe Harris. Said Gabe's good. Hope to get him more playing time. Was asked about Branson. Said Branson Robinson's back out running. Quote, getting close. Mentioned said, I don't want to say he's a week out, which means he's probably 2 or 3 weeks out.
Right.
Okay. Anthony Evans hitting good speeds. Hamstring problems with really quick and twitchy people are not as straightforward as most.
Was that ever specified what type of hamstring injury it was? It was
Like a
pull or
a tweak
yeah,
or whatever. No, we didn't get any severity of it.
Hmm.
You know, one of those things.
Because I mean, it looked like DJ Lagway got shot on the field, and he might go this week. So
Accusations? I don't think cortisone shots work for hamstrings.
no, like literally got shot while he was on the field.
Got shot. I thought you were saying it looks like he got a shot. And now he's back.
No. Looks like he literally got shot, and we were like, "Oh, his season's over." And then it was like, "Hey, he might play next week."
Another good clarification. Apparently, yesterday when you said that Georgia fans were chirping Ole Miss players, and you saw a video of it, somebody thought you said they were kicking.
No,
Ole
they
Miss
weren't
players.
doing that.
So for those uninitiated on the channel, chirping is a form of saying that they were talking shit.
Yeah. And it was coaches.
Coaches. Daniel Harris was asked why he's getting more playing time. Said he's practiced better. Said they had a very long and lengthy meeting with him after the bye week or during the bye week by him practicing better, and he has. So he said, quote, earned it. He's earned a lot more playing time. Was asked about Smile being back. Said it's good for confidence of other guys and the general depth. Said Jalen can now be fresher, especially when he has opportunities to rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good news there. Said he wasn't going to go, but Smile felt like he was good and felt like he needed to be playing. He was deployed into that football game when it looked like Ole Miss was really moving the football.
Yeah.
That looked like a coach, hey, I'm going into this football game. You ain't going to stop me, in my opinion, being on the sideline. Was asked again about Jake Pope and retracted yesterday's comments, said he shouldn't have called him an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I saw a lot of people take not necessarily offense to that, just like, damn, dude, you had to call him an idiot.
Yeah.
A little strong. But yeah, he backtracked that one and said he has appreciated the way that Jake has approached that situation. Was asked about the Nico dilemma, which obviously we've gotten a lot more information about. He alluded to something about Nico's game that I think I pressed on when we did that Iowa film study. And that was the fact that I knew this guy was immensely talented throwing the football, but as a runner, like, he's not just a really good athlete, man. He's got really good run instincts. He delivers blocks. He knows how to cut off of blocks. He understands general space. He's got really good spatial awareness about him. He's a much better runner of the football than I ever thought he would be.
Mm.
And Kirby has alluded to that as well. Says it pops up on tape. So that's about what?
I was going to say, is it fair to
I
say?
can hear the breath.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We got some good continuity going, Bubba.
There it is.
Go on with it.
I would say, is it fair to say he has exceeded expectations as a runner and maybe not lived up to them on the deep ball accuracy?
I think when I watch Nico this year, I think the growth has been stunted by the offensive line and the wide receivers being banged up. If I mean, people call me a Carson Beck protectionist all the time on this network because I explain why he's not performing as well as he should be. I did the same thing for Nico.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why, most of which don't involve him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But no, I think the surprising in the run game is just the fact that he's really, really good at it. What's the ooze?
Utah just lost Brant Kuth to a season-ending injury.
The tight end, he got hurt in that football game against BYU. Like lower body, an ankle. Hopefully not an Achilles. Guy's got NFL aspirations.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Was asked about home games at night, and do you know what 3 football games come to mind when he thinks about loud environments at Georgia?
Did he say that?
Now, this might have been narrative-based, but he gave us 3.
I'm guessing Tennessee 22, even though
Yep.
it wasn't a night game.
3:30 kick,
Notre Dame 2019.
7:30 kick.
Mississippi State 2020.
No.
That was a joke.
Arkansas noon.
Arkansas noon.
Yeah. Mississippi State 2020 was a joke.
Now, I've learned from this man that everything has a purpose. I think he distinctly remembered those 3 football games as like hostile and loud environments because they happen to be pitter-pattered across all 3 time slots.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those are 3 of the louder environments.
Those are
that have
3
ever
of the
happened.
louder environments, no doubt.
I think he does have a point. At least at Georgia, it doesn't necessarily matter where they are. It's who they are and what it means.
Yes.
So, what was I going to say about this? I can't quite remember.
He was asked about the 3 loudest environments, gave the answer.
Was asked about player leadership. He said there's a vocal piece of leaders speaking up in meetings. Leaders are doing the right things, he said. I think there's he always is really, really hesitant to go into the whole like this is more pressurized or this means more or anything like that. So I felt him kind of going into there feels like there's pressures ramping up. If you go back and listen to that, he kind of goes into that track and then stops himself and says he's always felt like the leadership's been there this year.
Yeah.
But I think there's been a ramping up here of things.
I mean, and it's natural. Like, you're now at a point where, hey, the season is on the line from here on out every game. Like, there's going to be an added sense of urgency, even if it's subconscious. So it makes sense that your leaders are going to become more vocal in situations like these. Now, I mean, the pessimist, and you could say, well, it sucks that it had to come to this, that you had to lose 2 games for people to really step up and get into gear, but that's just human nature.
Yeah. Was asked about Deion Sanders and what's made them so great at running the football this year. He said they're stubborn. It was an interesting word choice that he used.
Bang your head on the wall.
Yeah, so like they're going to run it even if they think they aren't running it well because eventually it's going to spring. Said he's an elite runner, and I think one thing that you're going to notice and one thing that I've noticed and we're going to bring to you guys tomorrow when we do a film study, that's right, film study on Tennessee's coming tomorrow. I think we're going to do half offense, half defense. That's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go through what?
I just realized I had the Diddy counter and I forgot to send it to you.
Yeah, that's how not doing your job works.
That's, yeah. Be like
Fit in the role.
Honestly, the Diddy counter is the most extensive piece of work that anybody does on this network. So when you don't have it prepared, I don't feel that bad because I know I ain't doing it.
Well, I mean, it's prepared. It's just I never airdrop it to you.
Oh, so you did do your work.
Yeah,
It's
he
done.
was doing
Just
it
didn't
today.
send
Oh,
it to you.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, I feel really bad now.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but
We'll have it tomorrow.
I do want people to know that going through and finding Diddyisms and making that clip is the hard, like most time extensive thing that we have. So I do want to
man.
publicly acknowledge the work when it is done because it's not only the funniest thing that we do, it's the most time constructive thing that we do. So
Thank you.
I don't want you to feel like I'm giving you too much shit.
No, you're good.
Non-traditional runs. That's what I was gonna say. You're gonna see a lot tomorrow when we do this, where I'm basically like, I guess we're gonna call this, and we label it a new name here on the network because it is non-traditional. They do stuff, particularly with the H-back, that is not conducive or transitive to what other teams do schematically. And most of that is because they play with so much space that they can do different things in the run game. Voice is really, really fading right now.
It's getting
boys.
there. You got 12 minutes when you can do it.
Inside linebacker play said, considering age and experience, they've done really, really well. Feels like CJ and Raylan have really, really grown, and then took the time out to give props to Chris Cole and Justin Williams. Talked about James Pierce, very elite off the edge and quickness. Said they do different things with him, though. Said they line him up all across the field. However, this week, he said, they're probably going to line him up over our tackle, and I would too. O-line playing tough as hell was the last note. Went into soliloquy, or as he calls it, a dissertation about how tough his offensive line is. Boys, will y'all please ISO for a minute so I can drink some water?
I mean, they're going to need to play tough this week. I mean, I think that playing tough in practice and being a tough team, and I think that everyone agrees that it's a tough unit, but what you saw on Saturday, I don't think anyone would agree is acceptable. So you're going to need to turn it around on this Saturday to right this ship, 1, and to 2, win this game, because the front four of Tennessee is relentless.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, though, is I think that Tennessee is a more all-around defense than what Ole Miss is. Like, Ole Miss clearly specializes in what their defensive front is able to do. Tennessee is good defensively up front. They are also good in the secondary. I don't know if that I would say that they're necessarily like really, really good at any area like Ole Miss is up front. They're just good all around, I would say. Like they're a solid SEC defense. So definitely going to have to play better, though, because they have SEC caliber defensive linemen that play really good football, and they've played really good football all year.
I want to play a game.
All right.
Since my voice is tapped out, but my ideas are not, do you think either of you can deliver the takes off of my notes?
Like we have the notebook in front
Yeah,
of
I'm
us.
going to give you my notes.
What
Do
are
you
the-
think you can read them and deliver the takes?
I mean, reading them in himself will be
That's
a
the
challenge.
problem. That's the joke of this. I think that's going to be the comedy that is found out of this,
All right, I'm with you.
impromptu bit.
Let's see what we can do here.
All right, so
What segment are we
so
in?
the keys. So we're going straight to the keys to the win, and there they are for Georgia, and over here they're for Tennessee. The bullet points are the key ones, and then there's some kind of ad lib additional stats in there.
All right. Can I get like 30 seconds to study, or do you want me just to go straight into it?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, man. You can study those up. You can figure out how you're going to deliver them, and most importantly, figure out if you can read my chicken scratch.
All right. So the first key to win for Georgia is you have to get hats on hats. Ole Miss got through way too often on Saturday. You had backs that are good enough to win with one and stalemates, but otherwise the line of scrimmage, it was not good enough there. I mean, Cash Jones, Trevor Etienne, they can make guys miss, the first man miss. You're not going to make the second and third when it's in minus territory. Second, catch the football, get the checks, tackle, block. That's just words. That's just a bunch of words.
There's subtext underneath it.
Let me read these real quick. Jay, Will, what's your second key? What's your first key to victory?
It says catch the football, block, get the checks at the line of scrimmage. In other words, do the basics.
Yeah.
Do the basics really well. That's what Georgia has really struggled with this year. They are consistently inconsistent at doing the little things. That's what bad teams do. Do the good things.
Consistently do the little things, and when you fail, don't fail twice. I feel
Bingo.
like if Georgia has played a baseline game, just done their job good enough, you don't have to be flashy, you don't have to be explosive, they would probably not have 2 losses on the schedule right now. I mean, that's how things have been for this offense. This offense is talented enough to beat anyone, but it seems like they have shot themselves in the foot more than anyone. Third is limit explosive runs. They will be running the rock heavy. They do it with Nico. They do it with Deion Sanders. They like running the football. Everyone kind of misconstrues this team as the air raid offense of the Josh Heupel era. No, they like to run the football. They run to set up the pass, and that's why the pass is so deadly. If you can limit the run, limit the explosive runs at that, you will be able to win this game.
That's one of the main keys because they haven't been able to hit their explosives through the air. Majority of their explosives offensively have come from Deion Sanders. You can't allow them to flip the field running the football.
I'm going to try and guess what your 3 keys to the win are. Now
For
that I've
Tennessee?
thought for Tennessee. Now that I've thought about it.
All right, let's hear it.
Based on what I've seen when I watched Tennessee on film this year, there are 3 things that stick out to me that they're going to have to do on Saturday and would have proven true against opponents that have defeated Georgia this season that you really, really have to do this weekend. Number 1, you have to establish a run like you have this year. This isn't to an extreme. This has been the case for Tennessee over the years under Josh Heupel. Everybody wants to say it's an air raid offense, but not this year. But this is to an extreme that they run the football, and they're going to. Deion Sanders is really good, has 20-plus touchdowns, I believe, on the season, has over 1,000 yards. He's by far the best running back in the SEC this year. It starts with him on Saturday like it has every single other game.
Did he hit or miss the battleship take?
So he missed a battleship take, but it's a great take.
It is a great
completely
take.
agree with you.
Hey, key to stopping Tennessee, stop the run. Box it with light counts. We've talked
Yes.
about that on this network for years. So your ability to at least predict where my football brain was going to go, right on track. I think I swerved the traditional take on this, didn't I?
Yes. So the first one you have is get out fast, start defensive. You can come and punch Georgia's offensive line in the mouth. Defensive line, if you can do that, it shows that this offense has a propensity to stutter. They've had times of the season where it's like the offense can't get out of their own way. If you can come out, punch them in the mouth early, you can kind of take the crowd out of this as well.
I think the word there was sputter
Yeah.
on the notes.
Yeah, sputter.
Yeah. I think you said stutter. Same kind of concept.
Stutter,
They're
Yeah, so I
going to
mean-
do some of that.
And honestly, history shows through this season that Georgia's offense is going to do this at some point. So if you can really take advantage of that and punch them in the mouth early.
I like this new game we've stumbled upon of Jonathan trying to guess my takes. What's your guess number 2 of one of my takes?
I would assume the next one, because this has been consistent with your analysis throughout the entire year. You have to fix the explosives. You have to win the explosive battle against Georgia. You got to hit your deep shots on Saturday, because despite the fact that you have it, it was Ole Miss's ability to create explosives on Saturday that made their offense so successful. Alabama created explosives against Georgia's defense. It was the biggest reason why they won that football game. Tennessee has got to figure out a way. If it is the run game like it has been all year, then you're going to be in good shape, but also through the air, you got to find a way.
We have a hit on one of the
That's
battleships.
That's a hit. Hit your shots. They've got to be able to create explosives through the air. You can run the ball. Georgia's going to make it difficult to run the football, but if you're not hitting shots, it's going to be null and void. Nico has had accuracy issues, mainly because of his offensive line. So the fact is that you're going to have to at least hit 1 or 2 of these. One, to keep Georgia's secondary honest, to keep them from putting guys in the box. Georgia loves doing less with more. If you force them to start putting guys in the box, then you can actually really start to take advantage of these deep shots.
All right, J. Will, you are 1 for 2 on take battleship or battleship takes. Can you sink the final battleship?
This
I
is going to
think-
be a tough one.
I think my final one is going to be, you got to get out. You got to start fast.
We already did that one.
Let's start. Yeah, he has that
The
one.
defensive
I'll
start
give you-
fast.
I'll give you
Punch
a-
him in the mouth.
I'll
Give him a
give
hint.
you a hint.
Because I can't even remember this one.
This is an offensive take.
Ooh.
Offensive take. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, no chance you're getting this one.
It's a tough one.
Zero chance.
It's a tough one.
It's very, very unique.
It's a nuance.
Yeah. This is a Brooks Ollie take, and I'll deliver it. You got to be able to hide the donkey. You got to be able to hide the donkey. They have a 5 offensive line structure that puts guys in one-on-ones very, very often, particularly on the edge. And in football games where Tennessee has really struggled to move the football, their donkey has been identified early in the football game and hunted for 4 quarters. It happened against Oklahoma. It happened to an extent against Alabama. It certainly happened early on in the year in one of their other offensive strugglesome performances at home. I can't quite remember the opponent, but nonetheless, all year long, particularly early in the year when he was banged up, it was the left tackle, but they can be identified and hunted on their individual offensive line matchups. And when that happens, they've got to be able to help that guy out.
Yeah. Chipping and doubling and
doing something.
Wherever it is, however you can help them. So.
Doing something.
Because, I mean, we have seen this Georgia defense is fully capable of being a pass rush team and getting after your quarterback. We saw that against Texas. Ole Miss wasn't necessarily as much, but I don't think they found as many wins in that area. So definitely at some point there's going to be a weak link, be able to help that chain.
Boys, I have that SEC podcast tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We have a What to Expect film study some point recorded tomorrow. And we have 2 more hours of content. This larynx and voice box ain't making it.
It's tough.
We're going to have to figure it out.
Get a nice lozenge.
I don't know how John Gruden does it. She like screams the entire time.
Who was it during that Miami game?
Oh, buddy, it's happened. It's happened to the
Reese,
goats. It's happened to the
Reese
goats
Davis,
this year.
Dude. Reese Davis.
Reese Davis sounded like he was gargling on some rocks, and Kirk
man.
Herbstreit sounded like he was on death's bed. So yeah, I'm getting there, but I ain't quite there yet. Reese was struggling.
Dude, Reese was. I mean,
That was right. I didn't even know it was him at first.
Yeah,
That's how bad
it was
Well,
bad.
at the first I heard, I was like, is he crying in the booth?
No, it's just that private jet airway system that they got going on up there. The air conditioning, you know.
It's a tough life.
Yeah, mine's just, I don't know, something.
Little seasonal allergies, maybe.
Perhaps. I don't think it's terrible. It's not unlistenable, but it's borderline.
No, it's not. It's really not that bad. I mean, it's noticeable, but it's not like, oh my God, dude, stop talking. Just call it.
Yeah, call it a wrap. Let the boys go ISO all
Give it
day.
a day, man. Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right.
We'll see how it is tomorrow, though.
I love you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and damn sure subscribe.